All right, and hello. This is episode 1 of the XP Extra Player Podcast. We have me hosting the first show today. I am Fume. Then we got Jay. What's going on, Jay? Jay plays games.
Hey guys, I'm obviously Jay Plays Games. I'm just here for a good time with my good friends here.
Got the nice Tomb Raider shirt too. I like that.
Yes.
And then we got Ghosty from Life is a Game magazine. What's going on, man?
What's up, everybody? As you can see, I am live to you from Pywell, from Crimson Desert. My beautiful
You can see,
background here.
yep,
Very
see the desert
excited.
in the background.
Thank you guys for joining us. Excited for our first episode.
Cool. So we got some topics today. We're going to be talking about DLSS 5.0. That was a big one at the start of the week. It almost feels so long ago. And then we're going to go into PSSR 2.0. From there, we're going to go into Crimson Desert, and we got an exclusive interview with one of the voice actors. And then after that, we'll be talking about Starfield, Resident Evil 9 DLC, and if we got time, we'll talk about what we're playing. So first of all, we're going to jump into DLSS 5.0. So DLSS, for people who don't know, is it essentially runs a game at a lower resolution on your monitor than what it's displaying, and then it upscales it so you get the benefit, the FPS of running the lower resolution, but you also have the benefit of having more frames per second. So you guys got anything to say on that? You want to go to Jay first?
Yeah, sure. I'm not a big tech guy, as anyone that knows me probably knows. So this whole DLS, I had to actually do a lot of research to even understand what it even meant.
Yep.
After doing the research, I think it's cool. It's got a lot of potential. I think it could be used and do a lot of good and make a lot of things easy. Obviously, AI is always a worry with people losing their jobs or it taking over or ruining kind of creativity as a whole. But the one thing, the standout that I've heard a lot and that I really agree with is the faces look awful.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anyone says because I've seen a lot of people kind of defending it, and I get it. The backgrounds look good. It does. I like what it's doing, but they need to, whatever's going on with those faces, I feel like they shouldn't have released that demo because that's all anyone can focus on, and all of the good things that it kind of showed are, being overlooked by these weird, uncanny, unnatural AI, very AI airbrush looking faces, and doesn't look good. But that's really my 2 cents on it. I think it's a good piece of tech. It could be really useful. It could make gaming better, a beautiful experience. But they need to, the devs need to be heavily involved so that their artistic creativity is not ruined by this program or software.
Apparently, too, it was running on two 5090s. The game was running on one of the 5090s, and then the DLSS 5.0 was running on another 5090 to generate. Yeah, so it needed a lot of horsepower under the hood to do what it was doing. And it
That
still
sounds
kind of
like it's
made
not going to be ready soon. Then that's not ready.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
And then you looked at like
yeah.
some of the shading on the people, and it like added sideburns to a dude who was supposed to like not have sideburns in the Starfield.
Hmm.
It gave Grace lips that she just didn't even have through makeup on her. I thought the backgrounds look pretty decent. The lighting
They
looked
did.
good.
Hmm.
And AI has been in everything for so long. It's just artificial talent intelligence. So it's like this technology has been around, but in name, it's been marketing as AI a lot recently. So people are just like, but it's been around forever before we were born. You know what I'm saying? Just in different forms. So I don't know. What do you got to say on that, Ghosty?
I mean, okay, I'm going to try and walk our listeners through this just in case they don't understand the difference
Yeah.
between these technologies. So,
Yeah.
when DLSS was first invented, quote unquote, it was like a pretty big breakthrough because at the time, like, you just needed more raw horsepower to run more visually impressive games. So, going back all the way to, I believe it was the 1000 series of cards for NVIDIA, so things like the 1080, legendary card, by the way, they came out with this thing called DLSS. And basically, what this does, like Fume said, is the game is rendering the image quality at, like, we'll say 720p, right? And if any of us have watched 720p in modern day, it looks really grainy, doesn't look good. So then what the game does is it upscales that image to, say, 4K or like 2K if you're on a 1440p monitor. And so you might be wondering, well, you're adding pixels, so how does that work? Like, wouldn't there be gaps in the image? And that's essentially what an upscaler does, is it uses AI to read the data of a high quality image. So Imagine taking an image of Grace at 720p from Resident Evil and then an image at 4K. And the AI overlays the images and then it looks at them and says, oh, this is what it should look like at 4K. I'm going to add, a pixel here, a pixel there until we get 4,000 pixels, right? Or whatever it is, like 3,800. And that's essentially how DLSS works. So it's taking the graphical power to run it at 720p and then using AI to make up the difference. When we fast forward to the 40 series of cards, things like the 4090, also, big news, we got something called frame generation.
Yep.
Frame generation was much more controversial because now instead of just rendering little pieces of an image to upscale the image, what was happening is it would take entire frames of the image and make them with AI, right? So like instead of running at 60 FPS, whether you had 720p or 4K, and then just having to fill in the little spots, it would literally be rendering like multiple frames of the image completely in AI. And that's why we get some like weird input lag when you use these technologies, some weird image quote unquote artifacting, which is essentially like it can take the form of like a smear or like an incomplete image, things like that, because those are being entirely generated. They're not like filling in the gaps. And that was really controversial because people were like, I'm fine with it like doing little touch-ups to make my image look nicer, but literally creating an entire image with AI, people were like, I don't know. And then, so that was the controversial bit with that. A lot of people are kind of okay with it because it does allow them to run games at a higher frame rate on semi underpowered hardware, right? Like you could buy a 4060 for a relatively affordable price and then be running 60 FPS games that look really incredible. And the technology has gotten a lot better, so we get less of those artifacts. It's less noticeable. So people were pretty okay with it. When we
and one thing. Oh, sorry.
When we fast forward to DLSS 5, this is like the big jump because now we're no longer just doing like AI touch-ups or even AI generations of still images. That's what the frames are. It's literally real-time editing of the actual image. And like Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, has come out and said this, that it's actually editing the geometry of said objects in real time. And like that's a big difference that we're talking about now because it's no longer being informed by the data that's given to it via the game. It's being informed by an outside AI model. And that's why we get things like Grace's face when people see it and we go like, that looks like a ChatGPT image because it literally is. Like anyone who says it's not is just lying. Like NVIDIA came out and said it uses outside inferences to inform the model of what something should look like. So when you get a lot of people saying like, it looks like it was generated outside of the game, it kind of was. And that's why a lot of people are pissed off. Yeah.
And usually DLSS is game by game too. Like they'll work with the devs so they can implement it into their game so it works. It just doesn't work right off the bat. It's going to be trained on the game and then the setting turned on in the actual settings. But oh man, it just looks so generic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it literally looks like you said, like a AI stock image that was just generated on the spot. It completely discredits all of the kind of artistic vision that they might have had, and that's what struck me at first. Hopefully, though, they can. I don't know what it sounds. It sounds just like I don't know. They always make these things work.
Yeah.
It does. That's the thing. But why? And this is something I see because when I looked into it, I kind of understood that this is basically a demo. It's just a proof of concept. Why then release it to show it? Because now everyone hates AI, so that was already kind of sent out to die. And then on top of that, what was it? I was watching somebody on YouTube. I think it was Game Ranks, and they said one of the most recognizable things to the human brain is other human faces. So despite everything that they've done in those to show, and they're like, oh, the backgrounds are what we're really focusing on, then you shouldn't have shown the faces at all,
Mhm.
because that's all that anyone can see. It's only when it's brought to your attention that you look back at the video and say, oh yeah, the backgrounds are pretty nice and I couldn't really complain. But those faces are what everybody's really worried about, because that's what your brain is kind of tuned to lock into. So I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot a bit with this by releasing it prematurely, which they tend to do a lot. But I think it's more for investors than us.
It
But
is. It
we
is.
are still here, and this could, you know, how people are behaving with AI, for example. This could make it so that certain people won't want to play games because it says DLSS 5,
Yeah.
or So
And,
that's kind
and
of, yeah,
luckily, it's just a setting too. Like we don't need to use it. If it's
yeah,
implemented in
yeah,
the game, we can just be like, no, fuck off. We
Well,
don't. We
yeah,
don't need it.
true.
I actually have some thoughts on this.
Mm.
Ooh, share.
Yeah,
Do
yeah, yeah.
tell.
So we say that like DLSS, or I forget what the colloquial term has become. Um,
Deep learning
neural,
super sampling or something.
and then like I think DLSS 5 is neural rendering is what they're calling it.
I don't even know what
Mm.
that means.
Well, essentially, it's like
Mad,
the rendering
yeah.
is done via AI. Is what it's supposed to
Yeah.
represent.
Okay.
Well, for a long time, ray tracing was an optional setting in a lot of games, and now we have games like Doom: The Dark Ages that has it on by
True.
default.
That's
Um,
true.
for me personally, there this is such a tough one too, and I've tried to spend a lot of time like thinking about this.
Mm.
Um, like some of the stuff looks pretty good. Like I will say especially some of the still shots, which I'll get into. Like there was a still shot of the lighting on like an image of static objects on a table in Oblivion
Yes.
Remastered, and it was like some cups and like some fruit and stuff like that. And they just like you could tell they just upgraded the lighting, and it looks really, really, really good. Like you could show this to your grandma and she'd be like, "That's a real image." Like it's
Yeah.
really impressive stuff. And but then there's other images of environments where things just look too shiny. Like I don't really know what's going on there. Like we
Like
have
they just
this,
polished it or some shit.
yeah, literally, but it's stuff that shouldn't be reflective. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's super weird. And that's been my problem with ray tracing when it was first introduced. Is it looks really cool, but sometimes it makes things too reflective. And I'm like,
Yeah.
anyone who's been outside knows that like cement doesn't reflect light like that. Like
No. No.
it just looks weird.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Not unless it's wet or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
So that was cool. I will agree that the environments looked good. Uh, but I do worry that like my biggest takeaway was really Starfield. And I think this has been
Mm.
a lot of people's takeaway. Bethesda has always struggled with their character model art in the modern day. I would say it was
Mm.
pretty solid like back in the days of Skyrim, back when
Yeah.
facial animation and facial art was still kind of in its infancy, especially in the
Mhm.
3D space.
Mhm.
In the modern day though, like you put Starfield, Fallout 4, 76, these modern Bethesda titles up against stuff like even The Witcher that came out in 2015, or some of the stuff that's coming out these days. Like, and it's getting smoked, like just
Yeah.
absolutely cooked. And people were saying like, "Oh, the Starfield faces look so much better," and I'm like, "Yeah, because they already looked bad. Like it's not like."
Yes.
And what worries me is like when people talk about artistic intent, unfortunately, I think the best way to interpret that is like, especially listen to what Todd Howard had to say about how excited he was that it realized his vision, is that now they can go really cheap on their art departments, really cheap on their art technology within the creation engine. And then,
That's
Boo.
the worry.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
click a
Big
button
boo.
and they're like, it's upgraded, it's fixed, it looks so much better. And I don't know if you guys saw, as soon as those images started to move, like especially faces, they turned it off. Like they swapped scenes.
Yeah.
Like, because it looked so bad. Like I just talked about a little bit, like all the artifacting and all the like glitches and stuff. And that was on like still images that it was rendering. So like you can imagine on these full images, if you just take a peek, they like move it really, really fast. And as soon as they started to move it, it was like, oh my gosh, what is this horrifying image that I'm seeing? And it's like, I really hope that it is just a button and they really do just focus on the lighting, because
Yeah.
inserting AI in a way that actually alters the art that people work on, I think the bigger problem for me, it's not so much that like I'm super opposed to the AI in art. I am, but what worries me on like an industry level is that we get this homogenized level of art where like you just put in basically a stick figure, and the AI will say like, "Oh, I'm gonna make such and such character," and like that's what ends up in the game. But then that character looks just like someone else. What's so unique about games these days is like the RE engine characters look exact like those are Resident Evil characters, and then I go
Yes.
and I play like Jedi Fallen Order, and those are the Jedi Fallen Order characters. They're different engines, they look different. You can tell which artists are really talented, which engines are better than others. And when you just leave that up to AI, it all just kind of gets slung together and it looks really similar. And we're already
Yeah.
seeing people like, I don't want things to look the same. And having them all look the same is like, it just takes out so much life from what makes games and why we're fans of certain studios and like why we love everybody gasses up the Decima engine. And it's like, yeah, because it looks
Yep.
freaking amazing. And not every game can look like the Decima engine models and characters and stuff. But if they did, it would take away one more thing that like why do we love Guerrilla Games? Like, it's like because they look amazing. And I just think that would be a huge bummer if everything's just made with AI and all right, they all look
Everything's
the same.
categorized as AI slop, which
Yeah.
is what exactly it looks like. And when
Yeah.
someone says AI slop, you can picture in your head what that
Yeah.
looks like.
Yep.
The overabundance of makeup, just the weird shadows, and it's so
It
bad.
looks like airbrushed Photoshop from like
Exactly.
2000 whatever. That's exactly what it looks like those old glamour magazines I used to see in the shop next to the gaming stuff as a kid. That's what it reminds me of. That's where my brain goes, honestly.
And one thing I didn't notice that you mentioned, Ghosty, is they didn't have any moving images in that whole NVIDIA presentation. It was just like still frames. They used that slider to go over it.
Yeah.
We didn't see any of it in action, what it looks like in gameplay and things like that, because
The
they
only-
just stopped the actual moving frame and just put a slider across the screen.
The only game that we had it in were the Bethesda games, and most of the images, or most of the footage, was people walking around. Like they really kind of hid people's faces. And the only time that there were faces was in Oblivion
Yep.
remastered. And like people were even then like, were like, I don't like this.
And Oblivion
So-
Mastered's already a good looking game.
Super
So
great
the fact
looking game.
that
That's what I was
fact that
thinking. Yeah.
they were able to update it and look even a little bit better, like the
Yeah.
technology is there to be used for good, but just don't
Mm.
let it replace the artist's art, man.
Yeah.
That
But
is the problem, though, isn't it?
And I do kind of understand even people's problem with the lighting because like lighting artists, that's a huge talent. People who are able
Yep.
to look at a flat image and update the lighting can significantly change what the thing looks like and how it's perceived. And even if those jobs were to go away because oh, we'll just use the DLSS 5 filter, like that would suck because like they work really hard and they're really talented at what they do. And so it's like, yeah, that would be a mega bummer. Does it look good? For sure. But I hope that studios just use this as like kind of like ray tracing. You can use ray tracing if you want to, but like if you don't, that's okay too. And we have baked
Yep.
in lighting and we have really talented artists that can make it look almost as good.
And
No,
I,
you're
and
right.
I like ray tracing. But I turn it off in every game because I don't like sacrificing performance for the extra lighting that I'm not
Yeah.
even going to notice when I'm already doing a bunch of crazy crap.
Yeah. No, I always go for balanced if I can. I used to go for quality all the time, but
Yeah.
as games have gotten better, and I think I've played enough and I've experienced like more games with higher frame rates and stuff, I struggle with going for quality if it then reduces the frame rate. So I try and stick with balanced whenever I play stuff nowadays. But it is funny. It just comes back to like the accessibility conversation again, though, isn't it? Because all of these accessibility options also mean that games become less specifically designed and
Mhm.
become more approachable, which is good, but it's also bad because it then again threatens that artistic integrity. But I guess it all comes down to who's the head of whatever publisher is obviously making these calls, because I'm pretty confident that you've got like really what do you call it, those publishers with really goodwill probably won't use these kind of things excessively and will maintain that human labor, like that human workforce. But you got the big guys that really don't care, and I throw it out there, but someone like Ubisoft, for example, I love Ubisoft, but they will use that because they already clearly do cut corners every single place that they can. Like not to say their games are bad, or I'm going to hear shitting on Ubisoft, but you can tell that's a corporation. They're about money first. They make their games as open, as accessible, and as kind of attractive to the biggest market. But that's not what a lot of gamers are looking for nowadays. People do want these kind of new, bespoke, created kind of experiences that feel like somebody's vision, like what we watch the entertainment for. And I think that a lot of these companies are losing the kind of the idea of that. But then it's gonna come down to us gamers at the end. In the masses, we're gonna invest in what we want to invest in. So I think it will be a good shout for us to start looking at these things and deciding whether I want to put my money into perpetuating something that could bring like a really ugly side to the industry, uglier than it already is ugly enough, to be fair. But yeah.
One thing that actually does work is if you kind of bully these companies in a way. Like I remember when Ubisoft started putting their games back on Steam, they weren't putting them with Steam achievements. And then you go onto like the Assassin's Creed Valhalla message board, there's an 8,000 comment, forum page about people complaining, talking crap about it. No one's buying the game. And then as soon as they add the Steam achievements in, which they did like 3 years later, people are like, oh, this is great. Thanks for listening. And then people went out and bought their game. Like you listen to the audience, because if you have the good faith of the audience, they're going to buy your stuff and they're going to say good things about you. Like Ubisoft was on such a bad run for so long that all I see really about them is just negative stuff nowadays when I talk about them.
Same.
And I liked AC Shadows and all their other games. So it's just the consumers are important. You got to listen to us.
I want to get your guys' thoughts on one last thing. So Insider Gaming, check them out. Awesome gaming publication.
Love them. They're great.
They interviewed some of the developers at some of the studios shown off in the presentation by NVIDIA. I believe specifically Capcom and Ubisoft developers. And what came back is that pretty much everyone didn't know that was going to be shown off. And I've seen some polarizing takes, which honestly did cause me to think about it some more. Like, do you think that the whole studio should have been told that their work was going to get shown off? Just specific people? Are you comfortable with like just the C-suite kind of making that decision as like we need to get some money from NVIDIA to pump up our next project, and we just won't use the technology in the future, but like it's fine if they use it in marketing materials kind of thing? If anything like that, I'm really curious like to get your opinion on that sort of thing.
I'd say it's a tricky one, because if you put yourself in the shoes of the people working there, that's like, and this happens to me at work all the time, my line manager or the manager of my team makes decisions that affect the whole team and then delivers that, and then there's sometimes backlash. There's going to be people that are going to have stuff to say, and it feels like for example, we all got told we were going to cover extra classes all at once, but this wasn't a discussion that was had. It was just an expectation, even though that's not our job. We're not cover support teachers, we're like community learning workers. But stuff like that, I can understand sitting in the office and being like, this is like BS, and I didn't sign up for this, and I didn't want my work to be used like, or I didn't want to be used like this. But then if you look at it from the corporation's perspective, especially when you're now talking about video games and all the kind of secrecy in there, who can you trust? Do you know what I mean? If you're a big corporation, can you trust? Because every single one of them know they've got leakers and insiders. That's where all your Jeff Grubbs and everything get their information from, people like that. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like so they know for sure that somebody's going to out this information. So that's probably why they drop things at a dime, because as soon as you bring a meeting, there's probably someone in there in the meeting taking notes for the money he's going to make when he exposes all this crap. Do you know what I mean? It's Ubisoft are in league with NVIDIA for the new DLSS, and that will come out weeks before they've even announced it and mess up their whole thing. So I think in that, I think it's really down to the who runs the company and their decisions. And you work for them. It's not your intellectual property; it's theirs, and it might affect your work. But unfortunately, I'm not saying I agree with it, but it is a fact of life that you're at the kind of whim of whoever runs the organization you work for. And if you don't like it, then you kind of need to not work for that organization, or to have your kind of contract written up in such a way. That's never going to happen, but that's the only real thing. That's kind of my 2 cents on something like that.
Yeah, these corporations don't want to give the employees the power over them for things like that. And in a situation like this, you got to think of things like, okay, what about the art director and all the artists who spent hours making this scene look good, and then all of a sudden they don't know that their art is going to be changed in a presentation to the world, and they see it and they're just like, my art was just destroyed in their point of view, and they might get upset. They might not want to work there anymore, and they might leave the industry, and then you lose a good artist. These little things like this can get affected that you don't even think about when you're just talking about the overarching picture. And it's going to suck.
Very true.
Yeah,
that's very true.
You might lose some good talent this way, and it's a very volatile industry, so they might get into a new industry where they have job protection and they never come back. So you just lost out on someone like that. Luckily, Japanese companies are good at retaining their employees. Like if you look at all the like raises that Capcom and Konami give, especially their new employees for starting, it seems like they care and they want to give.
Good.
Yeah, and that's just
the general employee. I like that. Speaking just because you mentioned Capcom there, I feel like, and I was thinking about this the other day, I feel like Capcom is probably for me, the best publisher with the best goodwill within the past 10 years.
100%.
Not just because of the quality of their games, but the consistency. Guys, the consistency is insane when you think about how many decent games or great games we've gotten from Capcom in the last decade. And like even this year, we just had RE9, then they're dropping Pragmata in like a couple, like next month, and then we got Onimusha, and we got Monster Hunter Tales. Not really my thing, but apparently that's been really well received as well. So they've got just so many projects, and then obviously there's the RE9 DLC. So there's just a lot that they're putting out at like very short notice, and they're also good, I think, at revealing things at a good time. But just because you mentioned Capcom, I'm just glazing them hard right now, man. I love that publisher.
I think that's why I was so surprised that they put their stamp on this. Like Capcom was front and center on this thing. Like they said, we're taking our brand new character who everybody loves and go ahead and use DLSS 5 on her. And that was like, I think that was the nail for a lot of people. Like, I think if it was just Bethesda already has some real bad will in the community. And from a lot of people, like it's just viewed as, I think, like a second tier company at this point, which is a shame because they put out some legendary games, but people are still waiting for that Bethesda return to grace. But then you do this, Todd Howard comes out and, says what he says about realizing his vision and all this other stuff. And I think people were like, all right, whatever. We already don't like Bethesda. It's fine, I guess. But then when Capcom comes out and like, here's Grace Ashcroft looking like a ChatGPT filter, and people were like, what? You did?
I didn't think it was real when I first saw it. That's another thing I should mention. I didn't think it was real. I thought, what am I being rage baited? I didn't actually respond or address it for a long time because I saw it, just scrolled, and I was like, that can't be real. That's BS. People are going to laugh at me if I say anything about it. That's why I was so late, because I realized, I went to research it after. I was like, this is real, so I do need to say something about it. But yeah, that's that. Yeah, it looks awful. That's what they did to Grace. Yeah, pretty much.
All right, now we talked about DLSS 5.0. We got also PSSR 2.0 that Sony talked about this week. Mark Cerny came out. Ghosty, you want to give your thoughts on that? I don't have a PlayStation 5, so I don't use any of their tech besides my DualSense Edge. So I'm going to leave this up to you and Jay.
I think it's a cool free upgrade. Like if you have a PlayStation 5 Pro, congrats, your games are going to look better. Realistically, I would say if you focus tested a lot of people and had them play the game and asked them if they thought it like looked better, like which image, a little eye test, most people probably wouldn't be able to tell. Where you really notice is like still images again, because that's really where it's doing the majority of its work and why so many people are okay with this kind of lower level upscaling technology.
Yep.
Somewhere you can really notice it if you want to go check it out, specifically hair. Diana from Pragmata, they did some side by sides of her with PSSR 1 and PSSR 2. Her hair
Yep.
is just way more detailed. Like it's things like that, like the individual strands of her hair, as if someone were drawing it. You can really see in these still frames that like it's just a more high quality image, which considering it's a free upgrade for PlayStation 5 Pro or players, like that's awesome. So hats off to Sony. Just makes the PlayStation 5 Pro that much more worth it. Your games are going to run better, look better. It's pretty
Do
simple.
they run at a higher frame rate too?
I was
Or is
going to
it
ask
still-
that.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
There
Hmm.
might be some extra headroom now, but
Yeah.
I believe it's just an upgrade to the image quality.
Okay.
Okay.
Which, I mean, you know, like you're never going to complain about it, but
No.
the only time we would actually see like more gains is if they did like an upgrade like frame gen. Um, Upscalers are only going to give you a bigger boost depending on the internal resolution, and that's already kind of set. So like if they were going to go and give you more frame rate in the game, they would have to drop the internal resolution even more
Yeah.
and have the
Yeah.
AI upscaler do even more work, which is going to lead to more artifacting, a lower image quality. So really what they're doing is they're already taking the low image quality that they have and just refining it more instead of lowering it and also trying to refine that image quality on the back end.
Fair play.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. So
You stole
sum
my
that
question,
up.
Fume.
Yes. To sum that up, it sounds like DLSS 5.0 is just hot crap right now. It needs some work.
Yeah.
And
Right now. Yeah.
PSSR is a nice upgrade. So
Sounds decent.
Cool.
Yeah.
cool. AI is not a good replacement for art. Sum that up.
Never
All right,
will
so-
be, I don't think.
So Crimson Desert. This looked fantastic leading up to launch. You know, everybody was hyped for it, and then on review date, it didn't get a bad score at all. It got a 78 on Metacritic, a 79 on OpenCritic, and a 75 mostly positive on Steam. I'm not playing it. Jay, you're playing it. Ghosty, you're playing it. So why don't you guys open up and talk about it? Ghosty, let's start with you.
Oh boy.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. Shoot, this is such a tough one, man. Because this is a
Yeah.
game I really wanted to like. I from day one, actually, you guys can go back and check. Life is a Game Magazine account. I said it
Yep.
looked like a fake game. From
It
day
did.
one, I thought it was Mind's Eye. I straight up did. I'll own that. I thought it looked like a fake game. Turns out it is very real, and it is just as big as they said it was. And so as we got closer to launch, more and more people got to test it. The hype started to grow. I was predicting like an 84 on Metacritic to kind of gauge my hype level if you guys were curious.
Yep.
And I definitely let the hype get to me a little bit, where I was thinking like, oh, this could probably be like a 9 in my book. You know, like not like a 10 out of 10, but like a really solid game. So pre-ordered it, picked it up, and played it for about 10 hours. And this is one of the few games that I've decided to refund. I'll be taking it
Oh,
back.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Jay didn't know
I didn't know that.
Jay didn't know that I was taking it back. His face.
Oh, shit.
Oh man. Yeah.
Got a
and
lot to say.
Yeah, anyone who knows me knows I don't take that lightly. I tend to finish even games that I don't like. Really why I'm ending up taking this back is I just like I can't justify sinking 80 hours into something that I think to me is a pretty average game. Like if it was 30 hours, I'd probably finish it. Like just to be real. It's more of the scale and how average I think it is that I don't want to engage with what I view as a pretty average game for that long. But if it was shorter, I'd be like, yeah, I'll finish it. Just like real quickly so we can get to Jay's thoughts because he's probably played it more than I have. Some high level thoughts from me. Especially the things that bothered me. Performance is hot ass. Like I don't know who reviewed this game. Like, it's not good. At least on console. Again, I'm playing on PS5 Pro. I've seen PC clips. It looks a lot better. I have had a very poor time with performance. And what I mean by that is on balanced mode, the frame rate is not good. It's not consistent. You can feel the frames jumping up and down. When you're out in the open world, it's a lot better. When you're in towns, it just craters. Like it like halves. You can feel it. And I'm not one of those people who can really point out frame drops, especially like in trailers and stuff. So for me to feel it, that was a big deal. The second thing, there's a metric ton of pop-in. Like when you're traveling the open world, graphics, textures, models, characters, all this stuff is like pop, 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 pop. And it's like so distracting. And so those were the two main technical issues that were already bothering me. That'll probably get fixed via patch, I'm assuming. So, like take that with a grain of salt. If you play it in 3 months or so, it's probably going to be fixed. But the main thing, and this was always my worry with the game when I realized it was more of like Breath of the Wild and less like The Witcher or some other RPGs, is it's just too open-ended for me. For me personally, this is like just like a personal gripe. I just need a little bit more direction and a little bit more investment in my games, and I just wasn't getting that. Like, I didn't have a reason to care about Pywell as a continent. I didn't have a reason to care about Cliff. He's the main character, by the way, in case anybody didn't know. I didn't have a reason to care about the other characters, why I was doing what I was doing. He just kind of seemed like a goody two-shoes. And because of that lack of investment and that lack of direction, I was just like, I just feel like I'm kind of exploring for exploration's sake, which for some people I understand is a total selling point. And if that's you, let me tell you, this is the game you want to pick up, because there is so much stuff to do in this game that you'll never be bored. But for me, the boring part is the lack of investment. Like, I want to play through something because I feel like there's a reason for me to do it. And even in Breath of the Wild, which is a very open-ended game like this, they do a great job of conveying why you should care. Like, Zelda gets taken away right at the beginning of the game, and you meet the old king of Hyrule, and he tells you, you got to venture far and wide to this place and this place because you need to get the stuff to defeat Ganon. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, and then you get lost along the way. Crimson Desert, at least from the little bit that I played, I was like, so where do I go, and why am I going there, and who is this character, and why do I care about them? And so, after 10 hours, I was like, I had a good time. I think the parts are there, but I just needed a little bit more for me to want to tackle this massive game. And when I didn't get more, I was like, I got Pragmata in a month, man. I got 007 coming up. And like,
Oh yeah.
Like, I'd rather save my time and energy for something that's going to fit more of what I want to play. But I have seen a lot of people really enjoying it and really enjoying that open-ended aspect. And I'm really glad that it's hitting for them on that level. So what do you think, Jay? Tell me about how I'm astronomically wrong about what I played.
I would never say that. You made everything you said, I actually agree with. And I think that's another big topic I want to discuss about this game is personal preference and how much that comes into play. And if you guys remember, obviously our recorded footage of that podcast got canned. But for our episode 0, we all gave our predictions. And I said high 70s. And you guys are like, oh, you thought that was a bit low. But I did say that this game was going to piss people off. I could tell at the time that it was going to be obtuse, convoluted, all of these things. People were hinting at it, playtesters were saying it, and I was gathering it. It's too much to fit comfortably in one game. That's what I honestly think. There's just too much going on. The control system was always, as we saw early on, was always going to be a lot, and I knew that it was going to struggle to explain itself. Kind of similar to Where Winds Meet. When I played Where Winds Meet, I got an idea of what Crimson Desert was going to be like, because they're obviously Where Winds Meet is an MMO. Crimson Desert is very MMO coded. It is basically like a single player MMO. And this brings me to my real point, which is personal preference is what this game is like Marmite. It's going to come down to what you want from this kind of game. And for somebody like me that does like that kind of open-ended exploration, and I'm also willing to overlook a lot of mess once there's some meat to get into, I was hooked. I wouldn't say immediately, because I did start off almost like, I don't know if I'm going to have the patience to play this for up to 100 hours, because the beginning was rough. Like, and I've posted and I've got more stuff to drop, like posts of me like kind of struggling early on, because there was a lot to learn. There was a lot to wrap my head around. I even posted earlier saying about how the controls are finicky, and then you get like these purists that come in and say, oh, you're not paying attention. But that's another point. Modern games are very intuitive nowadays. AAA games, particularly, very intuitive. And if you play a lot of them, like I do, your brain, your subconsciously, your brain is like getting smoother or something, because you're so used to, do you know what I mean? You're so used to the game accounting for your basic F-ups. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, for example, I posted this clip of me trying and failing to put this banner in a hole, and everyone's like, oh, the game says, hold L1, da. And everyone's like, it's right there in the top of your screen. People are like screenshotting my own screen recording and zooming in to show me. And I'm thinking, bro, I've been playing this game for just 2 hours. Yeah, I'm probably a little tired. I started playing this game at 10 p.m. because of the bullshit time they decided to release it. So I was tired while I was playing it, but I was really excited. So I'm trying to do all this, and my brain's obviously not. I'm not reading 3 or 6 sentences of tutorial when I'm just trying to pick up a flipping thing and put it into a hole. Like I just looked at the button prompts and thought, oh, I can make sense of that. It will be easy. And then realized I was missing that crucial element of holding L1. But that's what it all comes down to, a lack of intuitiveness. Like a lot of players like me will be frustrated by that. Unlike me, though, a lot of other people won't stick with it to see it through. They will just get their money back. They will just move on, because it is quite jarring early on. Having said that, I'm now 15 hours in, and the first 5 hours were probably like the roughest, because there's a lot to kind of wrap your head around. You have to learn that you're going to need to farm for food. You have to learn that a lot of the inputs are a bit difficult to kind of understand early on, and some things are quite poorly explained. That's something that can't be denied. And I think, and this is something I said, anyone that's more interested in a more detailed breakdown, I've got an article on my X account, Jay Plays Games, called My First Impressions of Crimson Desert, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And I wrote that when I was just 2 hours into it. And that highlights a lot of the same issues I'm still seeing now. Like I'll probably do an updated one at like 20 hours or whatever, just to say some more stuff. But yeah, that highlights all of these kind of issues, and it's just to do with the game being poorly explained and then lacking some polish. And like Matt did highlight, to do with textures popping in. I came across a really weird glitchy situation where whenever I went into a dimly lit area, the lighting was weird as hell,
So
and
bad.
that's still ongoing. I've kind of adjusted to it because I now expect it, and I can kind of move past it. It didn't break the game for me, but it was something I noticed and thought, that's weird.
Yeah.
Pop in for me, I have seen it, but it hasn't been as egregious for me as you described.
Dude.
And it's making me wonder, because you're playing on a pro.
Yeah.
You would have thought my experience with the performance would have been worse, but it sounds like you had a much worse experience, because I playing it on balanced, and maybe it's again down to personal, like what you notice in games, but the frame rate has looked pretty solid to me. I haven't seen it tank, but then again, I'm not good at knowing with frame rates, because I'm not a PC gamer. I haven't been in, I don't have a pro. I've had the base PS5 for as long as I've had it, so I don't really know about that kind of stuff. Performance for me has been okay, like pretty consistent. I had 2 crashes. One of them I think was to do with an update that needed to happen, and another one I don't even know. Sometimes the game has crashed. I think the 2 times it's happened, it's just when I've tried to come out of the map. I'm not sure what causes it, but that is obviously quite annoying. But again, I just load back in, and then I'm back into Pywell, and I'm quite loving it. I've made quite a lot of progress. I've learned a lot about how to play the game. But yeah, it is an open-ended experience. It doesn't hold your hand, but if you put the time in, I think the payoff is quite good, because once you get into the gameplay loop, it's addictive, man. Like I was up until 3 a.m. because I couldn't stop myself yesterday. But the problem with Crimson Desert is you get into things, and then it's like I had this boss I had to go and fight, but then I realized actually best not to go and fight that boss because I haven't got enough food. So now I need to go and find food, and I found like this forest that was just full of pigs and deer that just kept spawning in. So I'm just running around. I didn't even bother with my bow and arrow because it was annoying me. I'm just smashing these animals with my sword and chasing down baby deers and baby pigs like a madman
Proper
and
way
just
to
taking it. No, hunting like a boss, mate. And that's what I was doing. And then, but when I first got there, I started off hunting all this stuff. And then I get like sleep darts shot by these little green kids that look like Link out of Zelda. And then they kidnapped me and put me down, and that happened like 3 times before I realized you have to complete a quest because you're not actually supposed to be allowed to be in the area before you complete a quest. And it's stuff like that that again brings me back to my point of the game doesn't explain itself very well and can be frustrating because I'm just running around trying to hunt this stuff. I don't even care about how I got here or what the rest of it is. I'm just thinking, rah, there's loads of deer here. I want all this meat. And then I'm just getting stopped for no reason, no explanation, until I decided to like investigate a little bit and saw that I could speak to this little girl that sent me on another quest. And then I got access to that area. But yeah, it's one of those games that you think, oh, I'm going to do this, but then you end up 3 hours later and further away from your objective than
That's cool,
you
though.
were. Yeah,
That's
and
cool,
and
though.
I love that. I love that because then there's always something to keep you coming back. Like I haven't had a chance to get on today, but I'm already desperate to play because like I said, it got to 3 a.m. yesterday. I still hadn't done what I was trying to do. Yeah, I just spent like hours killing all these deer, finding new things, upgrading this. I then figured out how the upgrading system works a bit better, so I went to go and farm more resources. So I'm like, I'm going to be at least powerful enough to continue the main missions because some of the bosses, if you're underleveled, they will absolutely destroy you, bro, and that's not fun. So yeah,
isn't
that's kind
there
of my 2 cents.
isn't there no leveling and you just upgrade your gear and the more powerful
Yeah.
gear you get, like it's like an armor rating, you'll do more damage and stuff like that.
Basically, there's a skill tree, and you collect the abyss something or
Yeah,
others. You
abyss
collect these
fragments, I
sort
think is what they're called.
abyss fragments. That's it. You collect
See,
these
I
abyss
have played the
fragments.
game. So if anybody comes in here in the comments and say I didn't like it because I didn't play it, I did play the game, right?
Nah, yeah, he did play the game, guys. Just
And
not
there's
very
proof.
well. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Oh
Um,
yeah, and that's proof.
a couple
So my
things.
dad's actually playing too, and he's playing on PC. And one of the first things he said to me is the controls are so complicated because I think they prioritized the controller gameplay over the actual keyboard gameplay because he's like some of the commands are like on one side of the keyboard and some things are on the other. And he said it was just a brutal start. I didn't really talk to him too much about it, but he says it's tough.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm
Brutal
kind of
start.
understanding. There's a lot to learn, but you
Hmm.
know, if you look at other games too, like Elden Ring might be a good example because it doesn't really hold your hand either, but there's not as many mechanics. But that
Way
really
more
didn't have.
intuitive as
It's
well.
so
Yeah,
Elden Ring.
intuitive.
yeah.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen
It,
some
it
people compare this to Elden Ring, and it's like you don't understand how intuitive that game is. Like it
Mhm.
teaches you
perfect.
everything you need to
Mhm.
know, like without, like it's. I won't get into that, but yeah, they're
They just have
very
gods
different.
at From
Yeah,
Software that know what they're
Yeah.
doing.
yeah.
They are fantastic. Probably my favorite
100%.
studio.
A couple of things I
Mhm.
want to touch on here around the game. Number one, it was an MMO at one point, and that's why a lot of
That
this
makes
stuff is kind
sense.
of in holdover.
Yeah.
Like the quest design, a lot of it is fetch questy, and a lot of it
Mhm.
is like go
Mhm.
find this, go to this hub, grab a bunch of quests. That'll guide you to another hub. You do the quest there, and you go to the next one. You kind of bounce around like that. The second thing I want to talk about is like the pre-release coverage, and not by Pearl Abyss. I think what they showed is fine. Like their job is to market the game as completely as wholly as they can, and they did a great job of showing it off. Like obviously
Yeah.
a ton of people were like, this looks sick. My problem is with the people who were a lot of people who were covering it and were able to test it pre-release and then talk about said footage from, and this is not everybody, I don't want to name names just because I haven't gone about and done that, but some of the things that I saw that I think could have smoothed out a lot of this were people that kind of like sanded down the edges on their criticism early on. Like the thing that I saw repeated a lot was don't expect a Witcher 3 or a Red Dead 2 level narrative in this game. Okay, fair enough. But like there's a big gap between the Witcher 2 or the Witcher 3, Red Dead, and like what this is. Like you need to be honest with people and tell them that like there is functionally like a massive, like I would even say that modern Assassin's Creed games have a better narrative hook than this does. And like or at least very comparable. And so like, if you would have come out and said that, I think people's expectations would have been a lot more similar, you know? Like, I just think if you're covering these games early and you have the chance to provide your audience with a take on the game, you need to be honest with them and like, and tell them this is what I actually experienced and what I thought, and not sand down the edges on how you felt purely because you care about being able to cover it longer. Like, the people that I respect most in the industry and have been around the longest are the people who have given the harshest criticism and the most magnanimous praise to certain games. And it's like, and I know I can trust them because they're not going to say something just because they don't want it to come across a certain way. And I just wish leading up to this game, they would have tried to tackle that a little bit better. Like, tell me why the controls are unintuitive and why you feel like that sort of thing. Tell me how you felt about the narrative and why it was sort of like that. That was just a big disappointment for me going into this game. I felt like I was kind of strung along a little bit, and like, I wish I would have gotten a better understanding of just exactly what these people saw, because afterwards I was seeing a lot of people who had gotten the chance to play it before say like, oh no, we said these things and like we told you this, and it's like, well, like, kinda, but like, you were kind of hyping it too, and it's like, we could be honest here. and if you loved it and you will stand by that, and when people tell you in your comments like you loved it and they're like, yeah, and I still love it, like, that's awesome too. I think people should do that. But on the other end of the spectrum, if you thought it was mid, or if you thought it was kind of bad in certain spots, like, please say so, because then people will kind of take that recommendation a lot more seriously in the long run.
Yeah, I saw a lot of
I agree.
review scores. You know, there was 10s here and then there was
Yeah.
5s, and they all just kind of met in the middle. I think on Metacritic right now, the user score and the critic score is the same. I think they're both a 7.8 when I was looking at it last night. So it seems like maybe the consensus is just, it'll be a great game in 1 or 2 years after it has a bunch of quality of life updates, bug fixes, and they kind of balance it out more, because it sounds like you can just kind of wander into areas and just get your shit rocked for hours on end. But there's nothing to indicate that you shouldn't be there.
Yeah, none at all, mate. Like that stupid kids that were blooming kidnapping me, that I spent like 30 minutes kept getting kidnapped by these kids, and the game did nothing to explain that. So yeah, it is annoying in that regard.
Yeah.
We've got our interview in 5 minutes, guys, or 4 minutes.
Cool. So let's Jay has got us the interview with a voice actor who was in Crimson Desert. We're gonna go ahead and cut over to that. We're gonna have Jay run that, and then we'll be back for some more.
Okay, welcome back, guys. Thanks for waiting on that short break. We are here with Harry, who voiced a few characters in Crimson Desert, but also he's just revealed to us he's in over 80 games, which include the brand new RE Requiem, or Resident Evil Requiem. So Fume was originally saying he didn't have much to ask, but now he's going to be all over the place. Harry, thank you again so much for joining. Really appreciate you taking the time to come on our podcast today.
No worries.
Matt, do you have a question ready? Did you want to start with your question? Because I know you had some good ones.
Yeah. Harry, first of all, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming on with us. How was it working with Pearl Abyss? Did you actually get to go out to the studio? Was it mostly a remote role? Like, are there any highlights or specific teams you really liked to work with?
So I worked remotely in London. We worked at a studio called Side Global, and there are a few companies in London which are the recording studios, I guess, and they work on behalf of the developers to pick up all the voices and stuff. So I went to the Side studio, which is fairly local to me, north of King's Cross in London, and so we work remotely. We have a director and an engineer in the studio with us, and then we have the devs, the developers on the line, just keeping an ear on everything. I think I worked with 3 main teams. They have different teams for like cut scenes, for example, than they do for some of the other dialogue. They have, just different directors for different sections. So every now and again, I'd have a different developer on the line with me, but I mostly had the same ones. It was great fun. I mean, you know, it's varied. I've counted about 12 characters that I know that I am, but I'm probably more than that now. So, and I was in for quite a few hours. So yeah, it was great fun to do. Loads of varied characters, different dialogue, and all sorts of fun bits and pieces. It was great.
Very cool.
That is really good to hear. I'm glad that it was a nice experience, because that was something I was interested to hear what Pearl Abyss are kind of like behind the scenes, because I don't know that much about them. My question is a bit more specific, so bear with me while I try and frame what I'm trying to ask. But when I play the game, particularly with the NPCs outside of the cutscenes, and it makes a lot of sense to me, like you said, the cutscenes are kind of recorded completely differently. So when you're given the lines, were you given like the context? Were you there with the other people you're speaking to, or were you kind of given the stock lines and then just kind of read them out and then that recording was sent off? Because when I play the game, the voice acting, and this is one thing and it's hard to explain, I think the voices sound great. You know, it reminded me a lot of something like the Witcher 3, or the kind of that classic kind of British Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings kind of thing. So I really felt that was captured well, like the deliveries were good, but the interactions, if that makes sense, sound stilted. If you actually play the game, there's like awkward pauses that feel like they should be filled, and it sounded to me almost like as if the people who recorded for those bits outside of the cutscenes were given lines to read that were then put together in a different context, if that makes sense. So rather than you being in a room with somebody you're having a conversation with, it sounds like they were recorded two separate things and then put them together at the end. Does that make sense? Could you tell me a little bit about that, if you don't mind?
Absolutely, well spotted, and it's a great question. It's exactly what they do. They record us all separately. So I go in one person at a time in a studio. It's just me in a room with a director and an engineer in through some glass, and then the devs on my cans also able to jump in and say anything for context or whatever. The cutscenes are done slightly differently because they have to be lip synced. Because there's visuals and the characters are clearly speaking when they're speaking, so we have to do it as more of a dubbing exercise. Whereas all of the in-game dialogue is done, unless it's to picture, most of it's just done randomly, one line at a time. And you do it sort of scene by scene mostly. You're always given context. You're always told, as much as they know, where you are in the game, what's happening, who you're speaking to, why you're speaking to them, all those sorts of things. You're also always shown on the screen your own lines and also the other lines that will be or have been recorded for the other characters. So you can see what sort of thing you're answering to, mostly, if it's a conversation at least. And once those characters, the other characters have been recorded, whoever's recorded first, I'll jump back a bit. To start with, often a director will read in those lines as cues for you, so you've got something to bounce back against. So they'll cue you in with somebody else's line, and then you'll record your line. But as your lines or everybody's lines get recorded into the game, the director will often play those lines in. So you're hearing the actual lines that have been recorded by the actor, because then you get full context and emotional relevance and that to the conversation. You can clearly hear. So, sorry, I think that was a loud bite here. So more often than not, we're given complete context, especially in terms of conversational dialogue when there's more than one person speaking. However, when you're talking about random NPC lines, we're given as much context as possible, but often you don't really know. There's things like, we don't know how close the player is going to be necessarily. Sometimes you'll find that a character's shouting at you when you stood next to them, and that's because we just didn't know where you were. We try and place, if we think you could be anywhere within the world, we try and place it somewhere in the middle, so it doesn't sound too weird if you're too far away or if you're too close. But there's always going to be moments like that, and then there's always going to be the odd lines where we literally, none of us knew what we were saying or why we were saying it. We just had to say it, and that's occasional. That doesn't happen very often, don't get me wrong. Most of it is deliberately written for a reason. Well, all of it's written for a reason, but occasionally they just lose the context themselves, or it's such a big game with so many lines of dialogue. So I would hope that most of it does flow freely with, as I say, the different audio context and the different bits that are played in. But you will find some random moments where really we just kind of guessed at context or guessed at volume or guessed at whatever was going on. And that will, occasionally ping out, I suppose.
Makes sense.
Yeah, everything you said kind of makes sense to the kind of experience I was having, because like I said, it sounded good. I didn't think that the deliveries were bad or that the voice acting was off or anything like that. It was just it sometimes, and again, it's interesting that you said that this was occasional, because again, it was more occasional in my experiences, but more frequent or solely frequent with NPC interactions over actual cutscenes and stuff, where the conversations just weren't flowing or just don't flow naturally, and it just sounded to me like what you kind of described, that some of the things were taken out of context, or you weren't aware of certain things that would have made that performance more natural. So that makes a lot of sense, and thank you for going into so much detail and explaining that. It's the first time I've heard kind of how these things work behind the scenes, so my mind's kind of blown. Thank you so much for that, Harry. Fume, I'm gonna sorry, go on.
I've seen a couple of the comments on the NPC's dialogue as well, where they say they call you over and then just say something really weird, which is irrelevant. Like, because I guess could be fun, but after a while it must get quite annoying that they've bothered to, it's like, they've got something important. There's something random about their chicken.
Random RPG banter.
Exactly. Yeah, they kind of call your attention and then just tell you something that okay.
Happen to say something, fair enough, but don't call me over and give me a load of old nonsense. Do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. I accidentally muted myself. Sorry. Fume, did you want to ask Harry about the chosen game? I'm going to let you take over for this bit. Fume is the Resident Evil fan. I'm a big fan. Matty, are you much of a fan of Resident Evil?
Wow, just exposing me in 4K. I've only played Resident Evil 2 Remake, but I would like to get to the rest of them at some point.
Okay, cool. So that's the context.
Yeah. Sorry, just a bit. I also, you mentioned The Witcher and a couple of other games that are similar to this. I mean, Dragon's Dogma 2 as well.
Okay.
And, a few other similar games to this.
So you've worked with Capcom a couple of times, maybe more than a couple of times. Yeah. So now that I'm hearing your voice, there's this one, cutscene at the beginning of Resident Evil Requiem when Leon gets to the Chronic Care Roads Hill Center, whatever it's called, and there's a doctor that's wielding a chainsaw, and your voice is kind of deep like his. So I'm wondering if you're not playing him. No, it sounded very similar to it.
That's another deep-voiced English actor, but well spotted. Got quite not a dissimilar tone to me. My voice has been pretty disguised in Resident Evil. Well, I'll say that. I mean, I can still make all of the sounds I made in it. I play 3 characters. 2 of them are sort of inconsequential. One of them's just a random background zombies, which is kind of I play some elite guard or other who gets murdered pretty quickly, I think.
You play Hunk?
An elite guard.
An elite guard. Oh, okay.
I'm loving this, by the way, Fume. This is so funny.
I was like, elite guard? They didn't give him a name, so I was like, do you play Hunk? I was like, that's crazy.
Hunk, who's the big fat zombie.
Oh, the chunk, the big guy who crawls down this. Okay, and there's 2 of them, the brothers.
That one, him.
Oh
he
my God!
Down corridors and stuff.
That's crazy. That's awesome. Yeah, the performances were phenomenal, especially for Chunk. That was terrifying. Just hearing him go down, make all these crazy deep gurgles, saying he wants to eat people and stuff. Yep, insane.
Yeah. And like I mean, I do them pretty naturally anyway. Those sounds they don't really change my voice very much for that game. I've got this really strange high-pitched inward scream that I do, which is kind of a sound, and then all these those kind of things, and then occasionally things like and things. So,
I remember hearing that too.
You may have to keep that out. I'm sorry, it was a quote.
So besides Resident Evil Requiem, did you work on any other Resident Evil games like Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 4? No, nothing like that.
Well, my first. One great thing is it's a bookend for me. I'm really excited to be in it because I played several of the Resident Evil games over the years. I loved Village a few years back.
Yeah.
I quite liked BioShock, but I played the very first Resident Evil while I was studying drama.
Oh, okay.
God, nearly 30 years ago now. I guess it was the late 90s. And so I'd come home.
Anniversary.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. So I'd come home from drama college and play Resident Evil, in my spare time, and now I'm in the new one. So it's kind of really nice little bookends for me. I was a big fan of the series, and it's really nice to eventually be to be in one. It's great. And a few of my mates are in it as well. I've got mates who are playing various zombies as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
This is just awesome to hear, honestly. Harry, could I bother you for, to the best of your knowledge, just like a quick list of everything you can kind of say you've been in off the top of your head? That's just my own personal curiosity.
Kind of the bigger ones, because it will take me ages. I mean, as I said, it's sort of it's 80, it's around 80 now, and some of them aren't even on my CV because I'm NDA'd. I've got a couple of you know what NDAs are? They're non-disclosure agreements. So we're not allowed to talk about them until the studio says that we're allowed to. I've got a couple of big announcements coming out later on in the year. I've got a nice role in a fairly big game, and I'm in another nice big game that's coming out. Look out in May for an announcement from me as well. But yeah, I've written down a few. A chunk in Resident Evil Requiem. I play Zardas the Necromancer in the Gothic remake. I don't know if any of you played Gothic. I'm in Baldur's Gate 3 playing about 30 characters.
Wow.
I play. Have you played Baldur's Gate? I don't know if you've.
Yes,
played
I have. Yeah, yep.
Love it.
100%.
Fantastic.
I'm going to small spoiler. I play the. He's a some sort of ogre. You interrupt him in a barn. It's really difficult. Most players get killed by him. He's having a moment with an ogress.
I remember who you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And then a bunch of more come. Yeah, that's a tough fight.
I play a little goblin guard who tries to get to put wild dung on your face at one point. He guards the camp. I play Enthal Danthalon, who's Danthalon's dancing axe, the shopkeeper, and random other people. Sharp-eyed Sneem, and yeah, kind of ended up with nearly 30 characters for that one, I think.
That's insane.
That is so cool.
Nosdormu in World of Warcraft. I'm Arno in A Plague Tale Requiem.
Oh no! Oh, crazy! Oh,
That's
crazy!
so
I
cool.
love that game. That is really cool,
Love both
man.
of those games. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And I've done Warhammer stuff. I'm all over Space Marine 2, Dark Tide.
Whoa! Where in Space Marine 2? I love that game.
I play a Hell Brute Servitor, Cadian Officer.
That's so cool. Their voices are so good.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's great. I play about 20 characters in that. And I don't know if you played. If you're a big fan, I played him in Dark Tide as well. I played Morrow in Dark Tide, who's one of the mission
that's awesome.
Oh wow! Okay, this is a
Those-
lot.
My bigger hits, but yeah, I've been in all sorts of stuff. You can just look me up on IMDb or whatever. Harry Myers.
That is awesome. Yeah, Harry Myers. I've noted it now. I'll be looking it up myself. I'll probably be messaging you like, "Oh my god, man! I can't believe you're in this."
And also, do bear in mind, IMDb doesn't list everything you've done. It's only if the game's big enough to have been put on there or whatever. So I mean, I've done a lot of sort of indie and mid games. Some of them aren't on there, but.
So to get like voice roles and stuff, do you have an agent that will like apply for your, put you up for roles and then you'll, kind of audition for it? Or do you like have contacts that you like go out and ask, what roles are available right now? Or you have contacts at studios and they contact you? How does it work to get the actual work for the voice role?
A mixture of what you've just said. I personally have an agent, and I also get work through work. So contacts. Often I'll do a job, and then they'll mark me for something else. When you audition, even sometimes if you don't get the job that you've auditioned for, they might still keep your details on record and mark you as somebody for the future. So I've put in for a role in a game and not got it, and then a year later they've come back to me for some DLC for another character or something. I've played somebody else in the same game, or those sorts of things. So yeah, you just often audition. I've got an agent who just deals with. You don't have to have an agent, but it's handy for me. She just legal process. All she looks, she just deals with stuff that I don't have to. And then all I do is do the acting side of it. So they normally. If they approach me directly, then I'll send them through my agent to sort of official. They normally audition process it's very easy unless you've got a home studio. I don't have a home studio set up, so I only ever go into other people's studios. And so unless you've got a home studio, most of the time you can just record a voice note on your phone for the audition. They're not looking for studio quality. They're looking to just hear your voice. So I can sit in my room where it's a little bit quieter and just do it on my phone and send it in. It's great. It takes about 20 minutes, half an hour to do a kind of a quick voice audition, really 15-20 minutes. It's no bother. And then my agent puts it into the mix. And there's a mixture as well between sometimes people ask for me directly, so I'll get an email saying, "Hey Harry, we'd like to hear you for this role," or "We'd like you specific or hello, Harry's agent. Here's a list of your clients we'd like to be seen for these roles. Other times it's just we have a general casting for these roles. If any of your clients are up for going up for it, please put in for it. So then we've got two different ways of the revenue of that. So Susie will put them all. My agent will put them all through me. If you've got a home studio, often when you do the audition, they want to hear the studio quality that you're going to be doing the actual job in. So then I can do it all kind of properly, but I don't. I just literally just rattle it off on my phone, and then that's it. You just send it in, and then wait to hear from them, and you either get it or you don't. And yeah,
Cool. Yeah.
And it's funny. I mean, I do worry about like my neighbours just because some of the auditions I have to do. I did do a little bit of home recording during lockdown. We kind of had to
most
in
people
lockdown.
did.
Imagine.
Yeah, it was all. I hated it. I'm technophobic, so it was all very awkward for me. And jobs I only did 3, I think, and I'd forgotten to warn my neighbour. I hadn't thought about it, and I've done this job during the day anyway. And I came out at night, and we were sort of meeting on the evening in a distance on the balcony just for a chat, And he was being really weird with me. He's been really kind of like distant and a bit kind of trying to work me out. And I'm like, "Are you all right tonight?" He was like, "Yeah, mate." He said, "What was going on with you today? I heard some shouting, and I was really worried about what." And I sort of thought, "Oh shit!" I was in a drama, and I was playing this really violent man who, occasionally shouted and was, getting all kind of like. And I thought he thought I'd had a woman or girlfriend around or something, and was being.
Oh no!
I'm so sorry. I just completely forgot I was doing all jokes. I was single, so it didn't matter.
The dark side and the warning for voice actors, guys.
All the stuff you don't think about when you're like, what do voice actors have to deal with?
Exactly.
Bedroom voice note shouting military orders or whatever, just thinking, Christ, what must my neighbours be thinking? I'm in a block. Luckily, as you can hear, it's quite noisy. I'm in the middle of London, so it's quite so things like shouting don't really get in. Most people ignore it, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I have a quick question about Crimson Desert. Something I noticed is that some of the voice lines, you'll get like a line recorded, and then there's like a really long pause, and then another line will play, but only for some of them. Is that to leave room for like localization or like different languages and stuff? Like sometimes the line might take longer, and if they try to piece it together, it would just kind of run together. I didn't know if you had any insight there.
I have no insight, but that's brilliant what you've just suggested. As you were talking about it, I was thinking, why would they do that? I was thinking it must be a mistake. And then as you started to say with the language localization, it makes perfect sense, because otherwise, it must. That's the only reason, unless it's some sort of glitch or editing error, which I can't see it would be with the game of this. I know that they're going to take them out and deal with them. But it must simply be that in other languages that line takes longer. I can't think of any other reason. But I don't know. I'm guessing. Like you are.
Along those lines, when you record like all of your lines, they're like kind of brought together in normal cadence. You wouldn't like say like a line and then within that same, I guess, like recorded paragraph have this unnaturally long pause and then go to the next one. That's something that's done in post.
The only time as I said before, when we record, sorry, I didn't say this before. When we record our individual lines, we just do it at our own speed, and they'll sometimes you just slow it down, but that's not because they need to fit it in somewhere. It's just because they want it directly. They want it slower, be more clear or whatever. But as I said earlier, the only time that they ever do get us to sort of really slow down and stuff is with the cutscene visuals. Those were the most difficult ones to do sometimes, because I don't know, your sentence is only 8 words long, but your character's speaking for what must be about 15 to 20. They're talking for much longer than your line is. So they either had to write us additional dialogue, or they had to kind of have us sometimes. I mean, we had to stretch out what we had. I don't mean sort of stretch out like that, but we had to find ways of slowing it down, maybe putting a few more breaths in or something else that would just, because we did need to fit in that space. So if it is cutscenes you're talking about, I could understand why that might be. But if it's in general dialogue, as far as I'm concerned, normally speaking, the dialogue should be zippy. It should be back like a normal conversation. So I can't think of any actual reason. I couldn't think of any actual reason why they might leave that gap. And you've put your finger on possibly the only one I can think of.
Yeah,
Well done, Matty, mate.
yeah, it comes along. I think the first time I noticed it, you talk to like an armorer in the first village, and he will sort of talk something like a normal cadence, and then say his next line, something like that. And I was like, that's a really strange pause. I wonder why. Like it felt like it was like a traditional JRPG where you might have a line of dialogue and then you need to click continue to get it to keep saying, but there was no like click to continue. It just had the pause built in. And I was just curious if that was due to, needing to record it in say Japanese or Korean or something like that. And it might just have a different length.
Yeah, it can only be that. Otherwise, it is a terrible mistake, and it must be annoying because you do want to just hear what it's like. We call it, as an actor, we call it dropping the ball. If you don't pick up the dialogue and the cues like that, too many of those pauses, it means you have to keep picking the ball up from the floor and then throwing it again and stuff. So, so it's a relaxing momentum basically. And so yeah, I can see why that would be annoying. I can find out for you as well. I can always ask this question at the studio and message Jay, later on down the line next week or whatever. I'm happy to do that.
I'd love that, man. Yeah, 100%. I'd really appreciate that. Any more information on the questions we'd asked would be really appreciative. Nice.
But yeah, I can't think of any other reason why they do that. And as I said, unless it's a mistake, which it may well be, it may well be that they just need to tighten some of those cues up a little bit.
Yeah, I can definitely see a lot of the things in post being like even what you said, Matty, about localization, but also there is an unpolished air to the game. So I think there is a few screws and patches that need tightening up and stuff. But I'm loving it so far. I'm really enjoying the game, generally speaking. Have you had a chance to play it at all yet, Harry?
No, I've seen bits of it online. I can see bits of walkthroughs and playthroughs on YouTube, so I can pick up bits. Like I say, the problem is at the moment is I don't really know exactly who I played, so I can't search a lot of it. I've got a few names of I'll read some of the characters I know that I'm playing in a little while. But no, I haven't had a chance to play it yet. But the bits of it I've seen, I saw they were playing me bits of it in the studio, the cutscenes and everything, way before last year or whatever, and it was looking stunning then. Obviously there are going to be problems because it's massive. It's the biggest thing that they've done. It's and it's Marmite. Some people are hating it and some people are loving it. I think one of the great things about one of the encouraging things is the devs are listening to everything that the fans have been saying and are talking updates and DLCs. The best thing about games these days is that you can just pull bits off, readjust them and put them back on. In the old days, once the CD was pressed, that was the end of it. There was no more. Whereas now we can just tweak and change anything we want going forward, literally. Do you know what I mean? It's not a problem anymore. So I think the devs are also saying, give it time. You'll warm to things. They're saying, I know some of the people are finding the combat difficult, but some people are saying once you get used to it, it just becomes second nature, and like any combat system.
Very true.
One of the things I was very excited about with the game, which is what I would be looking forward to play. I will play it at some point, not because I'm in it, because I like the game.
Fair.
I'm in, but not because I'm in them. If I ever want to hear my performance, I could go onto YouTube, But the thing that looks great about this one is the amount of exploration you can do.
Yes.
That's Red Dead Redemptions, both of them, all the Grand Theft Autos. You end up finding you go into the forest and see what's that shouting, or what's going on over there. Or let's go and hunt bears for a bit, or whatever it happens to be. Or you make your own missions. I remember in Grand Theft Auto years ago, we used to, one of the things we did, we stole a car, we'd park it underneath this tall tower, and we'd have to get onto the top of the tower with either a helicopter or a parachute, and then we'd have to jump off the tower and try and land sat in the windscreen of the car below. And if you managed to do that, you got 50 points, and that was how and we made all these missions up ourselves that we just ignored the whole storyline, and that's what it looks like. And that's
what
such
a big sandbox. So much to do.
Like, you wander around for days and days and days, just finding things to do. And that, fishing, fish for your entire. You could just go fishing forever if you wanted to.
Yeah, I suck at the fishing though. I don't know how. I usually
get my
head around it.
I
wanted to fish.
One of my characters is involved in the water. I know I'm definitely play this character called Sir Catfish. He's a boss at one point in the water. You may or may not have come across him yet. But I mean, this is the thing. The game's so big. Some people have been playing for 40 hours and haven't done anything yet, you know.
Yeah, I'm 15 hours in myself, and I was just telling the guys just before you came on that I was like stuck running around in this forest getting kidnapped by little children for 30 minutes. So that was an interesting experience. That's another thing about the game. It doesn't always explain what's going on, but once you figure it out for yourself, there is a kind of reward to that. That's what I was saying to you earlier, Matty, that some of the things when they click, it really clicks, and then you can really just move forward. I do hope that both you, all three of you, get a chance to like see it through at some point in the near future, probably in a year or two when it's fully patched.
I'm sure I will at some point. And I mean, I've seen people carrying goats and having pet cats.
You might have seen my post. I was carrying the sheep on the shoulder. I love that.
Like they do in Red Dead, on the back of the horse. He just has it on his shoulder while he's riding. Like, brilliant.
I love it so much. Oh,
and that's what I loved about, you know, with the visuals and with the idea of it. Like I said, when I was recording it, we didn't really have much of an idea, but you can see from the visuals, it looks like a really interesting mix of kind of old school, you know, barbarianism, knight kind of tail swordy fighting, horse riding, that kind of things, crossed with steampunk, where you suddenly come across another guy I play this, who's got my own voice. He's this little inventor guy who's got these steampunk goggles on, and he's got this ATAG flying machine, you know, various different weapons you can find, and you know, all these stuff that's around. Suddenly you're on a jetpack or something. You've been fighting, I don't know, knights in a forest, and now you're on a motorized thing or something. And I love the idea of the game.
Yeah, it is. It is a really cool high fantasy kind of aesthetic. Is it? Could you call it that? Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Guys, I need to step away for a second. My wife's pregnant. She can't put her shoes on herself. I'll be right back.
Oh, no worries, Fume. No worries at all. Catch you in a sec. Matty, did you have any more questions for Harry?
I can't think of one, but I think we have time for one more question if you got something. Take us away.
I think I've gotten way more out of this interview. Not that I didn't expect much or anything from you, Harry, but this has been even more eye-opening and yeah, so cool. Because obviously I only knew you as a voice actor for Crimson Desert. I didn't realize you had such a huge catalog. Maybe I will just ask a few more questions about yourself and your career, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
So how long have you been in the voice acting industry, and how have you kind of found the experience? Obviously, because you mentioned you've been doing this since like the 90s, so I imagine a lot has changed in how games are made between then and now. So yeah, I'd just love to hear like how you got into it and what your experience is, and just that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So I've been an actor for nearly 30 years. I left drama school in 1998, and my first job out of drama school was with the Radio Drama Company, which is the BBC Radio 4, basically, but there was a lot of other channels. And Radio 4 do an afternoon play, and then there are other plays all over BBC. So my first job was 6 months on a repertory company doing radio plays with the BBC, which is where I learned professionally my voice work from sort of practicing and watching other famous people and people who I admired and respected, and people who've been doing it for, at that point, 30, 40 years themselves. So I had 6 months it ended up being 9 months because they extended my contract for 3 months. So I had like 9 months worth of practice doing voice work. And at that stage, I was still doing a lot of theatre. I did do some telly and film as well, but it was negligible. But I mostly did a lot of theatre. And I found that I didn't get into game voicing until about 2014, I think. I think my first one was Sherlock Holmes game. Played
by Frogware. Is that one by Frogware?
Yeah, I've done a couple of the Frogware Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, they're the Sherlock Holmes pros, aren't they? They've got a few, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I played In the first one, I played Inspector Lestrade, who talks like that. Well, now, Holmes, he's that sort of Victorian copper type, you know. And yeah, that was Sherlock Holmes and the Devil's Daughter. That was my first video game that I recorded. So that was in 2014. It took me quite a long time to actually get into game voicing, because when I first started as an actor, video games used to be voiced by a lot of the radio actors, because there was no other voice actors kind of available. And when games first started being voiced 40 years ago, weirdly, they were looked down on by a lot of the actors at the time who were classical actors, you know. And so often they weren't even told it was a game they were voicing. They were just sent on a contract. Darling, you're playing this soldier, just go and play him. You know? They went and did it without really knowing. So a lot of those early games are voiced by classical kind of actors, which is why there's a lot of, we used to call it video game acting, right? Which is, you know, a very specific style of those early games. It's heightened.
Yeah.
It's not quite
B-movie.
And by the time I started to get into it, graphics were getting so good that you can't hide behind any of that anymore. And they started to ask for movie realism acting, because they need to match the realism with the pictures of the realism. You know, don't get me wrong, if it's a high kind of cartoon style fantasy, they still want high cartoon style voices. But in a lot of games, we're asked to do the thinking pauses, put in extra little breaths, make it sound as natural, act off of the line, and you know, do little stutters, things that make it sound more natural, because they look like movies now. So as I started to get into voicing games, they were looking for less of the traditional style and more of the sort of modern, you know, the more modern style. And I think I found it a perfect time for me, because I do prefer this, you know, the more realistic style of acting. I mean, I love the fancy stuff as well. Don't get me wrong; it's all fantastic, but I don't like working in that high style all the time, like the old school BBC radio dramas. You know, there's a place for that, but I don't think everything should be that, you know.
Yeah, I get that.
But weirdly, voice acting in dramas is still sort of one thing in itself. And then there's the voiceover world, which is other things. And that includes things like video games, audio books, also commercials, and anything else really that's not an audio drama, because they're sort of looked at quite differently. Often audio dramas are dealt with by your normal agent, and everything else is dealt with by your voice agent, for example. And, you know, it's just a slight separation in those things. But actually, weirdly, now games are more like drama than anything else, because, as I say, it needs to be that spot on. Yeah, I work in other avenues. I've done quite a few audiobooks, again, mostly for Warhammer. I've done a few. Weirdly, I don't know why I said that. I sound like an orc, right? Orcs in Warhammer are deep voiced.
You do.
Yeah.
So I play orcs in all the games. I just orc it up a bit, but I also narrate the orc novels for Warhammer mostly, because I sound like an orc. So occasionally go up to those.
Yeah, you got a really good orc voice, so I can totally see that.
Thank you. It's just, you know, it's years of being. I think I am part orc.
Your genetics have changed since you started voice acting.
Oh, you really embody your roles there. Oh, this has been excellent. Harry, thank you so much. I think we're going to call it for the interview there. Thank you again. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on and join us on this. This is just like a small kind of startup thing for us. So it means the world that you've come and given us your time today. Definitely, please do stay in contact. If you do learn anything, I'd love follow up, and with any projects you work on in the future. I've followed you as well now, so I'll be keeping a close eye, and hopefully we can have you back on to discuss future or even past roles, depending on what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on, and all follow me on socials, all you guys, and all of your followers as well. And yeah, good luck with this venture. You're great people, and it's been a pleasure chatting to you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much, Harry.
So that was our interview with Harry Myers, voice actor in a bunch of prominent games like Dragon's Dogma, Resident Evil Requiem, Crimson Desert. So that was fantastic. Now we're going to move on to our next topic, and that is Starfield coming to PlayStation. So Starfield is coming to PlayStation on April 7th, and the standard edition is going to have a nice price drop. It's going to be $49.99, and you can get the premium edition for $69.99, and that comes with both the DLCs, the Shattered Space that already came out, and the newest one, I forget the name. But yeah, that's coming out to PlayStation soon. Xbox is pretty much bringing their entire discography to every console. So
Looks
I'm
like
very
it.
excited for this. I played Starfield at launch. I thought it was, good for the most part, but it was missing what Bethesda does best, and that's exploration. And that comes down
Mm,
to the copy. There's in that game, there's like 300 planets.
mm.
So, you land on each one, and they can't make content for 300 planets. So it's just like the same kind of 3 bases planted on every single planet, and they have the same generic guns that drop. So there was really no good exploration, because when you get into an Elder Scrolls game or Fallout, you can pick a direction and just go and just find random crap. And that's just not the same in Starfield. There's like 3 big hub planets with 3 big cities. That there could be more now. But it was kind of tough. What do you guys? Are you guys going to pick up Starfield?
I am. I will be picking it up for PlayStation. I don't know if it will be a day one buy. There's just so much coming out.
Yes.
It probably won't be a day one buy between Crimson Desert and Pragmata. And then I want to replay Spider-Man before Brand New Day comes out. And then a lot of people talking about Death Stranding, has me wanting to play Death Stranding 2 before it gets too late into the year. So there's a lot on my plate, but I will pick up Starfield at some point. I played it, I think, not too long after launch on via Game Pass on my Series S.
Yeah.
And I've not spoken to a lot of people about my experience with the Series S. I did really like the console for a while, but I realized it's inferior to the other ones. That's just the case.
Super.
It's obviously not at the Nintendo Switch's level, but it's like in that area of, if you want a worse experience, that's going to be the console to use. Even for Xbox's exclusive games, like I played some stuff on there, it just looked awful and didn't run very well. It could also be that the TV I had at the time, this was when I was living in a shared house, and I was using like the TV that just got given to us, and it wasn't like 4K HDR, it was like basic HD, so that might have factored into it. But I said all of that to say, basically, my experience with Starfield was decent, but because of the hardware I was using, I just thought, I'm getting a PS5 eventually. I'll just wait for this to get the port. And ever since I bought my PS5 a couple years ago now, or my girlfriend got it for me for my birthday, shout out to my girlfriend, I was waiting for this to come. So I'm definitely going to be all over it, and we'll see it through to the end this time. I really enjoyed the narrative elements of it, even though I don't know if that's a major selling point for it, but I was really drawn into that. The relationships between characters and exploration I enjoyed, but not in the typical sense of exploration. Like, I enjoyed visiting the different locations and carrying on the different stories and seeing some side quests, but when you talk about boots on the ground exploration, it was pretty trash. Like, it wasn't. It's so boring. I remember like moon hopping across one desolate thing and wondering, why am I here and what am I actually doing? I'm just hopping. I just like wanted to explore this planet, because obviously I think it was the first time I get dropped off on this planet, and I'm like, oh, it looked like the moon, and I was like, all this rocky terrain, and I just decided to have a look around. There's nothing there, bro. There's the building that the game wanted me to go into, where my quest objective was, and everything around it is just dead space. So I quickly realized, like, they should have just trimmed this down to 3 planets with some decent cities in, or something like that, than to have all these empty, because that kind of took all the kind of sense of wonder out of, and it probably contributes to why I was so easy to put the game down, because I was like, this is it's not very fulfilling. And a lot of people even complaining about the emptiness of Crimson Desert, for example. I've heard a few people say that you can't talk about empty unless you want to talk about stuff that's empty. Like Crimson Desert, there's actually stuff going on. Like, it's not all the time, it isn't as frequent as something like Red Dead Redemption, but it's frequent enough that I'm always kind of, oh, what's that over there? There's kind of points of interest and interactions to happen quite often. Starfield, it felt like outside of the main kind of hub areas, there was no point in exploring. Genuinely no point. I don't know if there's loot, I didn't find any. There's no real points of interest. Even if you see something that looks like a structure that you could visit, when you get there, is nothing, is boring. So
Same
that was my
base you've already taken down a million times.
Exactly. With the combat though, I love the combat in that game. That's the best Bethesda combat, I think. Am I being hyperbolic? I think it is. At least for gunplay.
Yeah, the game is a lot good. It does like, the story is good, the factions are good, the gunplay is good, but then it just falls apart when the main thing Bethesda's good at, which is the exploration. and it's just not fulfilling. It's not hitting that same dopamine in your brain when you're walking and you're doing a quest and you find a Daedric shrine, and then you get Umbra, and then you can just wreck everything with Umbra, like in Elder Scrolls 4. You know, Maddie, did you play Starfield?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Starfield's an interesting game, man.
it
Like,
is.
It really is. Like, to me, it felt like a get right game for Bethesda. Like Todd Howard was looking at all the stuff that people were saying about like Fallout and Skyrim, and he was like, "What if we didn't make the stuff we do better, but we made the stuff we do bad better?" And like, it's really interesting to look at that way, because like Fallout 4 gunplay is better than 3, but it's still not great. It's not industry standard.
Yeah.
But gunplay in Starfield is pretty dang good. Like, I would put it up there with some of like the better first person shooters out there. Like things like graphics, it's much improved from Fallout. Like, you can see like definitely a leap there. They put in a lot of effort, especially in things like structure details, like the textures on like ships and all that kind of stuff. Really great. So like just a lot of things that we used to criticize Bethesda for, I feel like they really leveled up when it came to Starfield. The problem was they just didn't level up the Bethesda stuff. Like you said, like the exploration somehow got worse. Like, and the like the faction quest lines and stuff like that are harder to find, and they're less fleshed out, and they're more like create your own adventure. Like the things that we used to talk so highly about Bethesda. And it makes it such an interesting title to talk about. Because I think if it had just been like our solar system, and they had what, 9 planets, right?
Yep.
Like that could have been really cool. And you could have really put a handcrafted touch on all those, to where it makes it interesting. The other tough part is, for some reason, Bethesda thought it was really smart to make planets actually as big as they are in real life. Like, that's just a bizarre design decision to me. Like, when you were talking about, like they just put stuff on there, and I'm like, well, yeah, like Earth is literally the size of Earth. Like, that is how many texture panels are on there, and that is insane. So like if they had just limited the scope of the game, I think it would have improved it a lot. But
yeah, and
I think the main disappointment for me is that like I hate this new practice of like adding free content to a game that should have been there at launch. And like I talk about this, like it's just a bummer to me that people who buy the game years later get a more complete package than the people that bought it on day one. And I'm not talking about DLC. Paid DLC is totally fine. Like adding stuff via paid update, that's cool because you're rewarding people who are purchasing the game. Like, I get that. But these free updates, it's like, dude, why did we not just put this in the game to begin with? And like, I'm like, this just should be there. And the fact that it's not, and then it comes to PS5 on a platform that isn't owned by like your parent company, and now it has all that stuff, is like, that's such a bummer for Bethesda fans. Like I bought it on launch, I was so excited for Starfield, it's Todd Howard's like baby, and then 2 years later they're like, actually, he's like, this is the version you should have played. And it's like, well,
definitive edition.
It's like, I didn't get a chance to do that, Todd. Like, what is it? You know? So yeah, I think for people who love Bethesda games, there's a lot to love here. Especially PlayStation fans who were looking forward to it, and it's on discount. Like, go pick that thing up, and you'll probably have a pretty good time for like 40 to 100 hours. And if you really love it, trust me, there is a ton to do in that game. But regardless, like, I think it's probably worth $50 for most people, and they probably have a good time, you know, doing the pirate quest line, and you know, doing the main quest is probably the best in any Bethesda game. Outside of maybe New Vegas, like. So yeah, I'd give it a pretty solid recommend. It's just a bummer that the people who were excited for that game had to wait 2 years to get the edition they probably should have got at launch.
Yeah, and it's tough because, you know, like me, someone who played it at launch, I'm looking at the state of the game right now, and it just has all these, like we were saying earlier, just quality of life features. I was playing Wu Chang, Souls like they came out last year, and
that one.
Yeah, it's honestly really good. Pick it up if you like Souls likes. There was I played it after launch, so when I was in the middle, I was fighting these bosses, and you know, when you die to some bosses, you go back to a shrine and you got to do the boss run back. So they added this update where if you die to a boss, you can respawn right outside the boss door. And apparently that wasn't in Wu Chang at the beginning of the game. So it's just like, I played it afterwards. I have all these features that are just making my life better when I play the game.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where Starfield's at right now. You know, all the stuff that were complaints at launch, they have probably fixed. And it's going to just be a much more enjoyable experience for a cheaper price.
Yeah.
And because we were speaking about Crimson Desert earlier, that is exactly my prediction for Crimson Desert. That it will be a complete experience in a year or two when they've polished it and updated. The obtuse nature of the game, I think they're just going to slim down, rework the entire menu system and tutorials from the early game. I mentioned in my article it would be similar to what they did with The Witcher 3. Do you remember when that game first came out? It had a completely different kind of menu system that they changed with subsequent patches. So it got
I played
completely
after
different.
launch.
Yeah, I played both. I played it near to launch, and then not exactly on launch, but a little bit after launch, and then I played it again a couple years later. And I remember noticing how the update had kind of made things a bit more streamlined, and it is a much better experience because of it.
Cool.
You guys got anything more to say on Starfield?
Oh yeah, one last thing. I think it would be awesome if more developers took a page out of pricing things at $50 and then giving a deluxe edition for $70. I think that would be a much better way to implement these like games that get expansions often, rather than trying to price them at $70 and then like a deluxe for $90, but you don't know how much content you're getting or when. Whereas like I think a $50 to $70 would just be poorly received. And, you know, again, good on Bethesda for realizing that that'd probably be a smart move for bringing this game to a new console.
And that's a make or break, you know, kind of price too. Like when games first went to 70, people are like, damn, man, that's pretty expensive for video games. But if you look at something that's like $50, that's not too bad. You know, you can get 2 games for $100 when you could get 1 game for 70. So there's a massive disparity between those prices and the value they can add.
100%.
Yeah. 100%.
Cool. All right. Starfield, that is coming April 7th. So pick that up if you want to do some space exploration. Now we're going to talk about the RE9 DLC. Today is actually the 30th anniversary of the series since the first Resident Evil dropped back in, I think it was 1996. I might be wrong on that. I could be correct.
I think you're right.
Yeah. 30 years, 2026.
Yeah.
So it's been 30. Yeah, it's been 30 years. So it's the 30th anniversary today, and the director Koshi Nakanishi shared a video talking about that the DLC is in development, and we don't have a release date or anything yet, but it's happening and it's coming. I'm pretty excited for that. I don't know where they're going to take it. I don't know if it's going to be a Leon DLC, if it's going to be a Grace DLC. Maybe you play as Alyssa, you know, leading up to the event.
Ada back. Ada.
I know, Ada. I know. That's who everyone thinks Leon's married to, you know, the ring in the last scene. People say Sherry, but that's just weird. I mean, there's like a 10-year age difference, and he saved her when she was a kid. So I don't think that's it.
Sherry is in. She's in it. She's in RE.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If they were married, that would have been something they talked about.
Yeah. No, that would be weird, man. He met her as she wasn't even like, she was a child. She was like a very small child, right? Was she 12? I thought she was like 7 or 8. She was so small. I remember she just kept yelling that there was things following me that weren't actually there, man. That's what she used to really creep me out.
Yeah, so Ada, I think that would be a good choice. I think, you know, the tension that they've always had between the two since Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 4, it just makes the most sense that they would end up together.
Does.
Maybe he's just
people
married
hate
to
her,
random.
Yeah, it could be. I think I didn't finish Resident Evil 6, so I can't remember her kind of story arc in that. So to me, it just feels like after Resident Evil 4, we just haven't seen her.
Yeah.
I just felt like I'll have to look into her lore, what happened in Resident Evil 6. I did watch a kind of overview. I know she had her own missions and stuff, but Resident Evil 6's whole story just doesn't feel like it put much into the series, so I kind of discount
I forget most of it, to be honest.
I think
it seems
people do, man.
Nothing burger, big, you know, biohazard war type thing.
Well, I think Capcom have forgotten about it because all the games reference other games, but I haven't seen any direct references to RE6. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I think Ada's story to unlock that in RE6, you got to beat all the other, I think it's 3 stories. I think you got
I
Chris,
think
you
so.
got Leon, and then you got Alex and Sherry. And then the 4th one to unlock is Ada's. And that's just like a shorter one, but it still goes into what she's doing. But
She
yeah,
had
they
like a
also
weird doppelganger, didn't she? Like an evil twin or
Yes.
someone. They created
Yeah.
something that looked like her, and it was all
That's
it's
what
a
I
bullshit.
remember
It's
from
so confusing, man.
So one thing about Resident Evil 6 is I actually think Leon's first 2 chapters are really good because you're in like that church cemetery in the underground. Like it feels like survival horror in that sense. But then it just picks up into the big Tokyo City explosions and big monsters, which is cool, you know. That at 2012 when the game came out, that's just kind of what everything was. Like big shooters, third person, stuff like that. So it kind of I think it was just the issue with that game is it just fell into the what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like the whatever was popular back then when it was going on. You know what I'm saying? Which was the big shooters.
Yeah, it did. They were trying to make it appeal to the broadest audience.
Yes.
I watched a YouTube video all about RE6, and they basically explained the reason why the game failed is because Resident Evil reached an unparalleled level of success for the genre. There's no competing, and people could argue that there are games that are its equal in the genre. Silent Hill. I'm not going to say anything about Silent Hill today. I think not, but I still haven't revisited it since, so I'm leaving my kind of take on it. But yeah, it was so well received that Capcom were just it was like a money printing machine. So they were just like, how do we like get it to appeal to a wider and wider audience? And as you can see, RE4 started it, and because people really liked the changes that RE4 made because they were so well implemented, they kind of ran with that. So you see it kind of moving further and further away from its survival horror roots, and they got rid of a lot of what made Resident Evil. But by the time RE6 came around, RE4 sold really well. RE5 sold even better. So they were like, okay, people want this kind of action. But if you look at the kind of comments on RE5 at the time, it was quite well received, but people were still kind of worried that it was shifting a bit too heavily away. But Capcom didn't look at just user feedback. They obviously looked more at the numbers. So they said, okay, action is what sells. And then they went all balls to the wall action with RE6 and kind of lost the series identity in a major way. And I think this other thing that kind of bit that game in the back was it sold quite well, but was then received really poorly. So its reputation exploded as trash, and nearly because of its success, its own success kind of bit it, because RE was so big and everybody was talking about it. It did very nearly kill the franchise from what I could tell, because Capcom were left in a position where they weren't sure what to do. And obviously we've seen they did fix things quite well by the time Biohazard came around. But yeah, I thought that was just an interesting kind of tidbit on why RE6 ended up the way it did. It was just kind of running with what they thought was hot until it wasn't hot anymore, basically. And I think, just one more thing, sorry, because I'm going off a bit of a tangent, but I think that RE6 was also the failure was a product of people, the oversaturated market at the time. Like action was what was selling, so everybody was going for the same kind of grim. Like the color palette was always weird and kind of brown and grayish.
The 360 PS3 color palette,
And I think at that point, people were really tired of it. And I think that also helped RE to not do as well. If it had come out a bit earlier, maybe it wouldn't have been as slated, because it's not necessarily a badly made game either. It's just lost its kind of identity. Yeah.
And that's what I want to talk about. So if you go back and you look at Resident Evil 4, where the genre kind of changed from survival horror to action horror, the setting that it was in was scary. You know, Leon shows up, he's at the village, this backwater village, there's nothing around, and it's just this cult that's there. And it's just these people who have been taken over. You slowly descend into seeing what happened to them. And then the next part is you go to a castle that's full of cultists. And it's just like the setting really mattered. And when you look at the setting of like Resident Evil 5, where honestly, Resident Evil 5 had a pretty good setting in Africa, and up until you get out of the ruins and you start getting to the lab area. And then all the enemies just start having guns and it's not scary anymore. It turns into a complete action game. And then they followed that last half of Resident Evil 5 into Resident Evil 6. And it just fell apart because it's an action series and not anymore about the horror.
I totally agree.
I also vote on an Ada DLC. as a non-RE
Yes.
fan.
I mean, Separate Ways was really good in the remake of Resident Evil 4. Like, if you played, I recently played both Resident Evil 4 original and Resident Evil 4 remake. And in the original, it's just kind of like this random stuff. Ada's just there and she's just going to kill some dudes. But if you go to the remake, there's a whole story behind her now. They repurposed, you know, Salazar has his 2 guards, those 2 dudes in hoods. They repurposed one of them to be the main antagonist of that, hunting down Ada that whole time. And that's who they turned U3 or U2, which was one of the bosses in the original Resident Evil 4, but they repurposed it for Separate Ways this time. And I thought it was really good. Some people don't like it, but yeah. So, yeah, Resident Evil 9. They are also coming out with a photo mode update for it soon. And then they're getting a new mini game that's going to be added before the DLC, which I think is going to be the Mercenaries. They add that into every single Resident Evil. You know, it's like the side game. You get points, you go through the levels. It's more of just the action part of it. Resident Evil 4 did it best, and it's phenomenal. So they're going to add that. We don't have any timing about it. So, yeah, I'm very excited for that. You guys have anything else you want to add?
Man. Just I'm as excited as you. Again, I hope it's the DLC. And I don't know how likely it is, but because RE9 has been a huge success to date, like
6 million copies.
It's sold so well. I'm hoping we might get more than one DLC. I'm not going to hold my breath because they probably will want to move on to the next Resident Evil, whatever remakes they're doing. But I kind of hope that because of the resounding success that they give us, there's a lot they could do. You know, there's a lot of different stories they could cover. So I'd like the more the merrier. But I'd also understand they're probably going to reserve a lot for Resident Evil 10, which is probably going to be phenomenal, like crazy stuff. Probably won't see it for like 6 years though. I'll be like 35. So.
Yeah, I think the current pipeline is next year we're getting Code Veronica. Year after that we're getting the Zero remake, and then I think it's Resident Evil 10. And then Dusk Golem also just came out with a rumor that the Resident Evil 1 remake just went into full production. So yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's exciting. Oh, what a good time to be a Capcom
That's what I'm saying,
Resident Evil fan. Their kind of lineup is insane. I don't know if we were on record when we were just saying that in the past decade, their output has been phenomenal. I'll just reiterate that. It's amazing, man. Chef's kiss for real.
Chef's kiss. Cool. So you guys want to end the show talking about what we're playing?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I know you guys are both playing Crimson Desert, so
yeah.
We already kind of talked about
it. Another surprise I could mention. Or if you guys have been keeping an eye on my account, you probably know what I might mention. But yeah.
Maddie, do you want to? Yeah, are you playing anything besides Crimson Desert, or you want to give the mic to Jay to start?
My lack of Crimson Desert. No, I'll go first.
Okay, go on.
No, so I'm starting Jedi Fallen Order today. I'm gonna be doing a platinum run. I've played through about half of it back in the day, like probably, I don't know, 7 years ago now, but I do want to finish it.
Yep.
And that'll be like my game leading up into Pragmata. Hopefully that platinum run will take me, about there. And then Marathon has me hopelessly, ridiculously just down bad addicted. Like
grab by the balls.
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2019 Warzone lockdown types of just addicted. Oh my gosh. It's just
that's good though.
Dude, it's so good. Like I on record saying that there's not been a better feeling shooter to come out since Halo Infinite. And like a first person shooter, I should say. Not that there haven't been great ones before that, but the last really good feeling one was Halo Infinite. And so like just it's fantastic. They just came out with their like in-game PvP map that has like a compiler in it, and some weird decisions around that as far as like only being available on weekends and stuff, and ranked is live now, kind of same deal, only available on weekends. But long story short, awesome game, $40 well spent. We'll probably see about 500 to 1,000 hours deep in that one. So
nice.
Fallen Order and then Marathon with Friends has been my rotation.
Hell yeah. Jake, what you been playing besides Crimson Desert?
So obviously Crimson Desert, I'm loving it. That has, and this is really rare to happen if you guys see how many games I kind of switch and swap between. I feel like I might be on the spectrum to do with like ADHD or something, because I really do struggle to like focus on one thing at a time. But I'm also working on a Devil May Cry marathon. So off the
Let's
back
go.
off the back of playing Resident Evil 9, I was just like, I want to get into more Capcom stuff. I was going to go back and replay all of the new or modern RE games. But then we obviously had the conversation, and you were like, oh, you should really play the older titles. So that was on my mind. And then I thought, well, there's a older kind, almost, because Devil May Cry is almost like a Resident Evil spin-off, like, because it was supposed to be Resident Evil 4, the original. So I was just thinking there's like an older set of games that I've actually not played any of. So I first played Devil May Cry when I was like 9 or something. I got it from Blockbusters or whatever. I remember we had the copy, and it was too scary for me as a kid. Like, I literally was just scared the whole time. The whole vibe really messed me up, so I never played it again and kind of wrote it off. And then got back into it with the DMC Devil May Cry, the reboot
I
that
love
no one
that game.
liked. It's a good game, right? It's not a good Devil May Cry
Fantastic
game.
combat.
Like the
Fantastic
combat, it's got the best platforming in any Devil May Cry, I'd argue. But yeah, what it did to the characters. Now that I understand the characters, when I played it, I didn't really know anything about Dante, Virgil, and what they were, so I just kind of took it all at face value and just enjoyed the gameplay. But I was just thinking, I was like, you know what? I need to go back, marathon all those games, because I never played Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3, or 4. I just jumped straight back in with the reboot, and then I played 5 and loved it. So right now I've played 1, 2, and I'm playing 3 right now as well, which is, it's peak. 2 is trash. 2 is not a good game. I thought going in, like, I was skeptical, like, oh, it can't be that bad. It's still Devil May Cry. I saw footage, but footage doesn't really give you the idea of what it's like to actually play that game. Like, it's playable. It's a playable game, but when you've just come from Devil May Cry 1 and then going straight into Devil May Cry 3 afterwards, it's so bad. It's pointless stuff going on. The story is rubbish. The combat, they managed to ruin the best aspect of the game. The combat is completely stripped down and just boring. There was basically no challenge really, and anything that was challenging was just an exercise in frustration, because now you have to really try to play a game that I wanted to quit straight away. I actually did put out a post saying I was considering skipping it because I knew it would be hard for me to play, but so many people kind of convinced me to play it, and fair play, I'm glad I did. It was playable, and I got through it, and some of the animations for Dante, like backflipping and running up walls, was cool and fun, and I wish there was more of that in the future games. But that was the only thing it had going for it, and it kind of just, I'm surprised it got another game after that, to be fair. Like, that was so bad. But yeah, that's me right now. Crimson Desert and Devil May Cry.
I've never played the first 3 Devil May Cries. I actually started with Devil May Cry 4, which is, I think, the introduction of Nero, but he looked more like Dante in that one. And then I went to DMC Devil May Cry, and I was like, dude, this game is great. And I was going online talking about how much I love it. I just have loads of people just, what are you saying? You're an idiot. Just change the series. And it did change the characters for the worse.
Butchered them, man. It butchered them. Oh, yeah.
And then I remember in DMC Devil May Cry, they did a callback where it's at the beginning of the game, his trailer gets all top-sided, then he puts on the white wig, it like falls on his head, and he like looks in the mirror and he's like,
never in a million years.
Yeah, and he throws it off, and I was like, dude,
everyone was like,
that is a big fuck you to the old art director.
Slap to the face, in it. Yeah, for real. That was funny.
Maybe one day I'll go back and play the original 3 Devil May Cries like you, but sometimes
I recommend it, man.
Yeah,
I recommend it. Don't listen to anybody if they tell you not to skip 2. There's like I mean, play it if you want to give. I only did it because I wanted to give like a full. At the end, I want to do like a full review of the series to say I've played them all and kind of rank them all. But bro, I didn't even go and complete Lucia's. Because it's got 2 characters, 2 playthroughs you kind of have to do. I played as Dante. I said that's enough for me. I'm not going to go and play this crap again as a woman that I don't even care about, because she was boring in the cutscenes that I saw her in, and apparently she's got water levels, and I was just like, I hated the water levels in Devil May Cry 1. I'm not doing that to myself again. That was like the worst part of Devil May Cry 1. So yeah, do it. 1 and 3 definitely. 2, that's completely up to how much you love yourself.
You know how many games I think would be better received if they just had a different title? Like, if they just didn't happen to fall in like some like insane series and change them so heavily, but like just a different title.
Like Resident Evil 6. If that was
Like,
named something different,
yeah.
people would have liked that a little more, I bet.
It might not have sold as well, and like I get
True.
it from that perspective, but like I think about that so often as a recovering AC fan. Like if the AC RPG games were just like historical fantasy games, like dude, I think they would be
Like
top
Odyssey.
sell- Yeah, like if Odyssey was just a make your own fun Greek adventure, because that's what everybody who loves that game talks about. Like it's so fun to like explore ancient Greece and do all this stuff, and it's like an ancient Greek RPG. And I'm like, get out of my series. Like I don't want I don't want this junk in Assassin's Creed. But like I respect like that. And then in Valhalla, it's a sick Viking game, terrible Assassin's Creed game.
I love both those games. I just want to put that on the record.
Same.
No,
I
totally
do as
fine.
well.
I love them.
And that's what
I
I'm-
love all the Assassin's Creed games. I'll be so real.
That's what I'm trying to say though, is that like I think these games are good as games and they're fun.
Mhm.
But like
Mhm.
as coming within the series that they come within, whether that's like the Devil May Cry reboot, whether that's
Yep.
RE6, new Assassin's Creed games, whatever, by not taking the risk to have them establish something new, I think they've doomed themselves to being hated for
Yeah.
a large
Yeah.
portion of the fan base. Whereas like
That's a
imagine
good
if
point.
Capcom came out with another like action horror type game and like that was their like it was totally different series from Resident Evil, but it was like
Dino Crisis.
yeah, exactly. And
Oh
it's
my
like,
god. When are they
it
going to
becomes another
remake that,
thing.
man?
Or like how
Yeah.
Devil May Cry was a spin-off of Resident Evil and it became its own
Yep.
thing. Instead of like
Mhm.
trying to make Resident Evil into Devil May Cry, they
True.
accidentally spawned like this incredible thing that they're like, wait, this is so cool.
Yep.
Well, it's funny that Assassin's Creed, just because you mentioned that as an example, started off as Prince of Persia, right? And then they realized, oh, we've removed ourselves so far that we need to make a whole new series, basically, and that was a good choice. It's argued they could have done that with the RPG games. Like, I don't completely feel how you feel about it, Matt, but I definitely get what you're saying. Like, I would have played those games if they weren't Assassin's Creed related, and maybe it would have been nice to have it as a separate thing because, yeah, when they do try and force these two things together, there are certain instances. Even when I played Odyssey, I loved it for what it was, but as an Assassin's Creed game, yeah, it was very far removed from anything we'd kind of seen before. Well, obviously Origins was but Origins kind of stayed more in line with it, like that felt like an Assassin's Creed game to me from the get-go. But yeah, Odyssey was like completely, it could have been, like you said, its own standalone thing. But it's interesting, they kind of did do that, and I don't know how well that went, but Immortals, Phoenix Immortals, do you know that game?
Yeah.
It started off as Gods and Monsters. That was basically Assassin's Creed Odyssey 2.
Yes.
But they made the mistake of, I think they made that too kid friendly. I don't know what they were trying to get at. I enjoyed it for what it was, but it went on for so long and it just didn't fit. And then they're trying to be funny a lot of the time, and it came across like a weird spoof of Zelda. Do you know what I mean? And way too many flipping puzzles, man. I feel like they should have just made Assassin's Creed Odyssey 2 and then just, let it be its own thing,
Yeah.
I don't think it'll always work. It's just something I think about, that like some of these games that are so poorly received, but there's just like a small portion of consumers that are like, these rock. And then like the fan base drowns them out and they don't get a sequel to a game they really enjoyed because it found itself in a series that didn't fit with what it was. They could have had something too. And it's a shame that we don't see that as often as we should.
That's true. It's a very
Ubisoft,
good
point. They make some mistakes because Jay mentioned Prince of Persia earlier, and it's just like,
oh,
dude,
boy.
the Prince of Persia remake was like,
Oh,
what,
man.
95% done? Something crazy. It was at the finish line, and they just can it. Like, dude, the series was back.
Note how I kind of glazed over Prince of Persia because that's a sore subject for me, man. That was like my childhood, that game, and
Warrior
when that
Within?
remake, for me it was Sands of Time is the best. Like for me personally, that was the gold standard for the Prince of Persia game. I don't think they got any better than that. I loved that game to pieces. So when I heard they were remaking it, I was so happy because a part of me always felt a bit begrudged by Assassin's Creed because it felt like it took Prince of Persia's limelight, because everything that came out for Prince of Persia after Assassin's Creed was just not as good as that original trilogy. It
replaced it essentially. Assassin's Creed replaced
it did. Persia. It replaced Prince of Persia, and Prince of Persia has never come back since. And that was this opportunity to come back. And the fact that and this is why I didn't say anything, but the fact that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still in development after they cancelled Prince of Persia Remake is ridiculous. You know, Beyond Good and Evil didn't even sell well. It was like Ubisoft's first like record-breaking flop. So why the F they're so desperate to make a sequel for a game that nobody even appreciated when it came out, and now all of the kind of reputation around Ubisoft. This game, I can't imagine it selling well unless it has to be so supremely good. Because I won't even pre-order it, even though I am a big Ubisoft. I'm not going to pre-order it. I'm going to wait for reviews because I'm so upset that Prince of Persia didn't come out. Don't do that. Don't take my Prince of Persia funding and put it into this stupid monkey on a rocket ship. Anyway.
So Jay, have you played Warrior Within, Prince of Persia Warrior Within?
Yeah, man, I played that trilogy. I played them all like several times. Yeah.
I thought Warrior Within was the peak of, because it has the Dahaka, the Gothic, like.
Don't get me wrong. I love all the three
soundtrack.
games. But see, that's the thing. I was a kid when I played this. So I imagine you would have been young yourself, though. I'm like, how old are you? Sorry for you.
I'm 30, so I think I was.
So we're basically around the same age then.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically I'm just a pussy then because it scared the shit out of me. That's really the truth. That Warrior Within scared me. It was so much darker that like Sands of Time was already a bit creepy playing that as a small kid. So it was those sand monsters really scared me as a kid. But Warrior Within was just dark. You know what I mean? And I was never a fan of rock music as a kid. I also found that a bit scary. I was sounding like a massive pussy when I was a kid, to be fair. But yeah, so Warrior Within never clicked with me as hard because it was such a departure from what I loved originally. I actually was happy when Two Thrones went back more towards what
it's like a blend of them both.
Yeah, and I preferred. So my ranking is Sands of Time, Two Thrones, and then Warrior Within. But I still hold them all in like high regard. So just because Warrior Within is down there, I played that game to death as a kid. It didn't matter. It was still Prince of Persia. I played all of those games. I probably played the first one about more than 10 times at this point in my life. I just kept revisiting them, and Warrior Within I've probably played like about 5 times, and then Two Thrones I probably played around about the same. I went through and used to replay them like it was clockwork.
Well, that's what you got to do when you're a kid. You can't buy new games all the time like I can now. Like my
exactly, I just
70
replay
games of backlog that I have.
Yeah, I wish I had that as a kid.
If I were to rate the Prince of Persia's, that trilogy right there, because there's so many other spin-offs and things, it's definitely Warrior Within 1 for me, and then Two Thrones, and then Sands of Time is the last for me.
Fair enough. They're all great games. I can't argue that.
They are. The Lost Crown that came out, I think it was 2-3 years ago. Metroidvania, phenomenal. That is, if
really
you guys
good
haven't
game.
played that, it's great.
Yeah, I never finished it, but I did enjoy what I played. I want to go back and finish it.
I went and got all the trophies for that because it was just like
platinum.
Prince of Persia is back, baby. Yeah, I got the platinum for that.
Fair.
On Steam, we don't have a platinum.
You got the achievement list.
Hold your gold ribbon, sir. Wave it proud.
Is that what they call it? A gold ribbon?
It's just a ribbon.
Yeah, it's just a ribbon.
Oh, okay, fair.
All right, Fee, what are you playing?
So right now, I just played 2 games I want to talk about. So I played The Legacy of Kain Defiance, which is a Legacy of Kain game I never played as a kid. I only played Soul Reaver 1 and Soul Reaver 2. I played that on my dad's PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. They just remastered that, got the platinum for that. Fantastic games, but the combat in these games is just not good. It's a product of its time. It's just kind of just like swing, dodge, and it's just like the sound effects don't feel that good, and like the hit doesn't feel good either. The combat just shouldn't be the highlight. The story of the Legacy of Kain games, the whole it's set in like vampires and humans, and now vampires have taken over the world, and Kain is the lead vampire, and Raziel was his lieutenant, and then Soul Reaver at the beginning of the game, Kain throws Raziel into a pit, then he comes back to life, and yada yada yada. But it's just the story of those two and between time and all that. It's good. It's good. I went through it. I beat it. There's some frustrating things with it because, like I said, it's a product of its time period, which came out in 2003. But what I'm hoping these games sold at least good enough that we get a new game in the Legacy of Kain series, because I think I think the aesthetic that it has, like the gothic, dark vampire stuff, can translate really well in this day and age with, because I feel like they could just make that look so cool. So I played that. I got about 60% of the achievements, and I was just like, I'm just going to put it down for now because I want to play Neo 3. And that's what I'm playing right now. And Neo 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. It's in my top 5 because I just think what they do with the combat and just the bosses and the exploration, it's great. And Neo 1 and Neo 2 were level-based games. You guys have played some of those. So they're mission-based. But what they changed with Neo 3 is I think they got some inspiration from Elden Ring, is there's open areas now. It's just these 4 big open areas. And you go out and explore, find gear. They have like a Diablo loot system where you just find random gear. It could be the same name, but it's better and stuff. So you go out, find those. They did the exploration good. There's these things like samurai texts and ninja texts, which will let you, you find them, you can equip more like ninja moves and samurai moves, and you can switch between the 2 stances, which is ninja and samurai. I don't ever use samurai because I played the first 2 Neo games like that. That's the one where you can key pulse, and I never key pulse because I just don't remember. So I'm just like, I'm going to stay in ninja because that's all about dodging. But I'm liking it so far. I'm only about 10 hours in. The exploration's good. The combat is fantastic, like normal. So I'm very excited to keep going with that. I'm probably going to go for the platinum of that, and then I'll move into Pragmata, is what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Sounds good, man. I really want to get into the Neo games. I need to play them, to be honest. I've
I
put
would
some
say
time into the first one, but that's
just
it.
start with Neo 2 because it takes everything about Neo and it
No!
makes it. You don't
Really?
think so?
No!
Yeah,
I was going to marathon all of them, to be fair. I wanted to see
I
them
think
all.
you should start with Neo 2 because it's a
Fair.
little bit easier because they give you a little bit more,
Yeah.
features to use. So it's not as frustrating because the first Neo is pretty hard, man.
Dude,
Like it's
a
tough.
tough game.
All
I
enemies hit
died-
like trucks.
I died 472 times.
That's crazy. That's a lot. And that's probably what I had too.
Yeah,
tough
it's what
game.
is to be expected from that though. For Souls like,
I'm just
Yeah.
a believer in like playing series from where they started, if you can, of course. Like I know
Yes.
sometimes it's not really feasible, but like there's a certain appreciation you get for not only older games and where they came from, but also like when you get to the newer stuff, you're like, dang, they really had the sauce.
Yeah.
Like they were cooking. Like they
Seeing
came
the
from
evolution.
this. Yeah, they came from this and they made this now. Like, okay, I see. Like when people talk about The Witcher 3 combat as being bad, I'm like, y'all haven't played the older games. Like they were cooking. Like it's not great, but like it's definitely an improvement. So, like you can see.
I
it
don't
working.
even think Witcher 3 combat's bad. I think it's kind of decent.
Just
It's
as
I
simple.
love the Witcher 3 combat, man, but Witcher 2 combat was painful, bro. That
No,
was
it's
rough.
fine. It's decent.
No,
for its time.
it's
okay.
worse than 3. Like it, you know what? If you can wrap your head around it and put up with it, it's fine. Like it works, but it's not. It's if you don't like Witcher 3 combat, I doubt you're gonna like Witcher 2
yeah,
combat.
for sure.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is like when you go in order of these things and you see the
Yeah.
progression of these systems in these games, you gain a large appreciation for like, oh, like they actually did progress from game to game, and I'm not just like, oh, the older game is worse. Well, a lot of the time it is, guys. I hate to tell you, like games evolve, they change, and our preferences and our capabilities also get better too. It's like so should the games.
Everything
totally
changes.
agree.
Yeah, well, that's exciting, Fume. I hope Neo 3 lives up to your expectations.
I
Yeah,
don't
man.
think it's gonna be better than 2 for me because I feel like the issue comes with Elden Ring too is the new game plus isn't as good as like something like Dark Souls 1, 2, or 3 because they're shorter games, they're more compact. You can kind of just go through them. With Elden Ring and all these other games, there's just so much content, and a lot of that becomes useless in New Game Plus because you don't need to go out and find these things you already have or these upgrades you don't need.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't think it's going to top Neo 2 for me, but I think it will top Neo 1 because I do like the exploration so far. It is fun. I don't think I'll play it into New Game Plus.
Fair.
So we were going to end the show here, but I kind of want to know what games are you guys most anticipating right now? Like, what is your number one anticipated game that's coming out maybe this year or next year? It's kind of on the spot. I put you guys.
I mean, this year for me, it's Blood of the Dawnwalker by bar none.
Oh, okay.
That game looks so sick. Like
it does.
Please, like if it's bad, I'm gonna break down. Like we might not record that week if it's bad. Like I'll just be like, all right. But it's between that and 007. I think 007 is just gonna scratch my Uncharted itch. It looks fantastic. I love stealth action games. Like give me more Metal Gear Solid. Like Uncharted, like all that kind of stuff. I'm in. And then next year, I mean, it's The Witcher 4. Like, just
oh my god, yeah.
Is that confirmed? 2027? Is it confirmed?
It's not, but like,
okay.
All indicators are pointing that like if it gets pushed to 2028, a lot of people would be really, really surprised.
Really? I wouldn't. I feel like I always had it pegged as it was a while away because that demo that they showed, was it last year?
Yeah.
You can tell that's not the game. Do you know
That's
what I
a
mean?
tech
The way
demo,
that they,
yeah.
like, so it seems like it might have more time. I hope you're right though, man. I really hope it comes out next year. Like, I'm desperate for that as well.
A lot can happen in a year and a half, and I don't think it'll come out in like the first half of 2027. But like I could totally see
fair.
it being like a holiday 2027
Yeah,
okay.
type deal.
Dude, that would
Yeah, makes
consume
sense.
the holiday purchases if that came
Yeah,
out
it
on
would.
holiday.
It
Everything would
It
be focused on that. People would be moving their games away from it. Maybe not at like the same pace as Grand Theft Auto 6, but
Yeah, but they
Witcher's
would.
the juggernaut.
It
They
would, well,
they
because
probably
it's
would.
so much bigger now, isn't it? Like, even the
Oh, it's
writer even
huge.
released a new book and everything. I've got that. I got the hardback of that, man. I'm a big Witcher fan. The show, bad, but everything else, great.
Yeah.
I like the first 3 seasons with Henry. I thought he did okay.
I like the first 2 seasons,
I like the
and then
first
it really
season.
fell apart. It fell apart after, but they changed too much. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that because I read all the books. That's a whole conversation. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just with my tangents today. What was the question again?
What game you're most anticipating?
GTA 6. I'm surprised
Okay,
that's even a question that we're asking. I'm surprised that you said Blood of the Dawnwalker. Like, I'm excited for that, but that's not GTA 6. GTA 6 is my most anticipated game of the century, I think. I don't know if I'm gonna. Yeah, I am, but I am that generic guy. Everybody says it, oh, GTA 6, but yes, I am. GTA 6 is going to be my life.
It's gonna be
when
a
it
great
comes
game.
out.
Like, there's no doubt about it. It's gonna be a 10 out of 10 product. You know,
I can't wait. I can't
I'm
wait.
not gonna be able to play it right away because it's not PC. You have fucking
That's not
launch
true.
for
You're picking
stuff.
up PS5. You'll be there day one.
I know. Wolverine.
You know what? No,
make me get
bro.
a PS5
The
Pro.
podcast will blow up, and I will buy you a bloody PS5 if I need to. Okay.
I'm probably just gonna get one for Wolverine, man. Like, that game looks.
Oh yeah, you owe it to yourself.
Insane, dude.
Mm-hmm,
and Wolverine is right up there with Spider-Man for like my 3 favorite superheroes of all time. Batman #1, Spider-Man #2, Wolverine #3. So
bro,
it's just like
pretty much same. Spider-Man top, Batman, then Wolverine, Deadpool. That's me.
Deadpool. Deadpool.
Yep.
Phenomenal. But probably my most anticipated game right now is Castlevania Belmont's Curse.
I am great.
Nice. Yeah. Really? Are you big
Yeah,
into Metroidvanias then?
Yeah, so my first ever Castlevania game was Circle of the Moon on the Game Boy Advance. My older brother gave it to me when I was little, just playing on my Game Boy, and I never beat it because it was freaking hard. But then a couple of years later, I played Symphony of the Night, and that is just one of the best video games of all time. It's in my top.
I've heard it's goated. Yeah, I need to play it.
I think if you like Metroidvanias, that is a must-play game because it almost feels like it started the RPG element into Metroidvanias, you know, because it's a massive castle you can explore. And then I'm not going to actually spoil that since you want to play it, but it's just a huge game. I think you should play it. But Belmont's Curse looks sick. It has I think it's Sonia Belmont, which I don't know whose kid she is. I think it might be Trevor's daughter. But there's a bunch of Belmonts and the vampire killer with people who killed Dracula. But that game looks so good. The art style looks great. Yeah. And I'm also excited for Silent Hill Townfall.
Also,
the first person Silent. Yeah.
Also looks good.
Yeah. I'm intrigued by that for sure. My kind of hype for Silent Hill is
I think you should play Silent Hill F. I think Silent Hill F is
I like it more.
It's an artistic medium that I feel like just transcends video games because of how cool they made the artistic style and the story of it. And it kind of talks about a real life events for a girl who's growing up in that time period. So it's just really good. And the artistic direction they take it is phenomenal. It's more melee survival horror. There's no guns. So there's just like you have different melee weapons they can break and you can find other things to help you. But it's really good. I think you should check it out.
I will. As soon as I'm done with 2, I'm gonna then get F and then hopefully be ready for Townfall.
Yeah. And then we're getting also a Silent Hill 1 remake from Bloober too.
I heard about that. Yeah. I'm intrigued by that.
I want a 1 and 3 remake. Give me them both.
Yeah, Silent Hill 2 remake was my first one, and I absolutely loved it. The ending hits really hard if you have a significant other. I honestly teared up because it was it's
I had the ending ruined for me years ago, man. That's probably
it's a tough watch, like
it is.
They swung and hit the fences. Like that's a wow.
Yeah.
Fair.
So that's what I'm anticipating. So I think this was a first episode 1. We killed it. We had an awesome guest come on to talk about that. So I'm excited to put this episode up and see what everyone thinks, and hopefully we can get a big following. So let's do a goodbye. You can tell everyone where to find you. We'll start with you, Jay.
Yep. So I've been Jay Plays Games. I'm on pretty much everything: YouTube, TikTok. Go by Jay Plays Games. I don't know if I can throw up my tags or whatever, but I'm easy to find if you're looking.
We can get it in
Maddie?
the description.
Yeah.
You guys can find me at It's Matt Ghosty on Twitter. But if you really want to get a hold of me / follow what I'm doing, Life is a Game magazine on everything. We have a website, Discord, whatever. Come talk to me about games. I'm the one who runs those accounts. So if you want to come chat games, I will throw aside my life to do so. So hope to see you guys.
Wait, can I just throw something really, just because you mentioned Life is a Game Mag? My review for Resident Evil 9 is coming to Life is a Game Mag very soon. Matt is working on the final kind of editing all the photos and everything into that. So just because we spoke about RE today, if you're interested in that, keep an eye out for that on lifeisagamemagazine.com.
Sweet. And I am Fume Gaming. You can find me at Fume Gaming on Twitter. I also have a YouTube. I stopped making videos for a couple years, but now that the podcast is in motion, I'll probably hop back on that. But you can find me over on YouTube and Twitter at Fume Gaming. Yeah. So, guys, this was a great first episode, and I look forward to doing this more.
Been a pleasure as always, guys.